My child, this is no ordinary moment cloaked in calm. It is a divine interruption, and I cannot delay it any longer. I have been patient, watching you stumble under the weight of questions, distractions, and fears while you looked everywhere else for answers that only my voice could bring. But tonight is not like yesterday, and tomorrow cannot hold what must be fulfilled in this hour. The time has reached its fullness, and the heavens are alert, for the unfolding has already begun. I have waited not because I was unsure, but because I was merciful, giving you room to see what I've been gently urging you to notice. But now, I must make it loud. Everything shifts tonight, and you must not drift into slumber as though this night is just another routine cycle of time. It is not. I am pressing into your heart with divine weight because decisions you make in this moment will define far more than your comfort. They will shape your spiritual survival. The enemy has launched an assignment that cannot be undone tomorrow. It can only be intercepted by your obedience tonight. This moment isn't just significant, it's sacred. It's the intersection between what was and what must now be. You've asked me for change, and I'm telling you change is knocking at your door right now, but you cannot greet it casually. Everything in the spiritual realm is echoing this truth. Delay will cost you access, silence will cost you clarity, and hesitation will cost you protection. I didn't bring you here to scare you. I brought you to this threshold to prepare you before the wave hits. You are not forsaken. I am closer than your breath, but I will not force my way past your distractions. I need your undivided attention because what comes next is heavy with consequence. I've whispered before, but tonight I'm roaring into your spirit because there is a window opening and it will not stay open long. I waited for you to turn, to return, to let go, but the clock of mercy is striking its final tone for this phase. You can't expect me to keep waiting while you keep wavering. You've cried for purpose, and I'm placing it before you now unwrapped, raw, requiring your full response. Don't look to others to validate what your spirit already knows. This is the moment of turning, of returning, of stepping into obedience that will realign your entire path. Don't say maybe later when the Spirit is saying move now. Don't say I'll pray about it when I'm already speaking. Your delay has already stolen enough. Tonight, my child, I'm reclaiming what the enemy tried to bury in your distractions and doubts. This is not about punishment, it's about protection. You are standing at the edge of something eternal, and I am offering you the opportunity to walk across. But understand this. The atmosphere is pregnant with urgency because heaven sees what you cannot, and hell is hoping you sleep through this call. I have waited long enough. I am not calling you halfway, I am calling you all in, completely, fully, urgently. This is the final call to rise before collapse, to act before regret, to surrender before destruction. And I am not asking, I am inviting with holy intensity. Will you answer now, or will you wait for a peace that will not come until obedience opens the door? And now that your heart is stirred and your spirit is awakened, look again, look closer, because the signs you once brushed off as coincidence are now demanding your attention like never before. That restlessness you couldn't explain, the sudden shift in the atmosphere, the dreams that left you shaken, the unexpected silence that wrapped around you, all of it was me, calling, showing, warning. But tonight, I remove every veil. You will no longer be able to say you didn't know. You will no longer be able to deny what has stood right in front of you. The signs are no longer gentle nudges. They are cries from the heavens and shouts from your soul. Every moment that seems strange, every delay you didn't understand, every closed door that left you confused, they were roadblocks I permitted, just so I could detour you from destruction. And now, they all come together like puzzle pieces falling into place before your very eyes. The alignment of events, the trembling in your chest, the timing you can't explain, it's all converging now. You can sense it, can't you? That pull in your chest, that urgency you can't quiet. That's me not just reaching for you, but requiring you to move. This isn't an option anymore. The signs were once signals, now they are commands. This is the moment when your response matters more than your comfort. Tonight, what you do with what I've shown you will unlock or seal what comes next. You will either walk through the door I'm pointing to, or you will sit outside it wondering what could have been. My love will remain, but the opportunity will not. I do not operate on human time. I move according to the orchestration of heaven, and tonight's instructions are backed by eternity's blueprint. If you delay again, the consequences will no longer be delayed with you. I am not speaking fear, I'm speaking reality. Just like the signs I gave Noah before the rain, just like the call I gave Lot before the fire, just like the warning I gave my disciples before the cross, so I speak to you now. Will you recognize what's unfolding, or will you pretend it's not urgent because it hasn't hit your doorstep yet? But child, it's closer than you think. What I allowed to touch others was not random, it was mercy extended so you would awaken before it touches you. I have not withheld my voice, and I have not hidden my fingerprints. I have been clear, and now clarity demands a choice. The signs that once whispered now confront you. They are not mere scenery in your story, they are turning points designed to interrupt your detour. Stop asking for another confirmation when my spirit is already pressing against your hesitation. Stop making excuses rooted in fear when I have already supplied you with grace and authority. This is not the hour to debate your worth or delay your obedience. The signs around you are now mirrored by the stirring within you, and I have made it impossible to miss me. Heaven has poured out hints, clues, divine nudges, but tonight, you are face to face with a holy call that expects more than awareness. It expects movement. What you do in the next few hours will mark your trajectory, not because I want to pressure you, but because I am protecting you. Yes, protecting you. There are traps that were set with your name written on them, but I've redirected your steps again and again. Yet the enemy is watching too, and he's hoping you hesitate just one more time. Don't give him that victory. You've seen enough signs to know this is not emotional, it's eternal. It's spiritual. It's urgent. It's me. And I am speaking clearly tonight, not to confuse you, but to confront you with love that won't stay silent while you drift into delay. The signs have spoken. Now your spirit must answer. Because this time, I am not hiding in the background of your day, I am rising above the confusion that has kept you distracted for too long. No longer will my words blend into the static of your routines. No longer will my presence be mistaken for coincidence. I have spoken softly in seasons past, hoping you would lean in, but you drifted instead. Tonight, I thunder not out of rage, but out of relentless love that refuses to watch you slip through the cracks created by hesitation. My voice will pierce the chaos you've grown used to, the clutter of opinions, fears, and false comforts that have drowned out the sound of truth. I am not competing for your attention, I am commanding it. The volume of your distractions cannot silence what I'm about to release into your spirit. My word is sharper than every thought that told you to stay quiet, to stay still, to stay afraid. And now it cuts through the noise, dividing truth from deception, direction from confusion, urgency from delay. I will not whisper when the hour demands thunder. You have asked me to be clearer, so here I am, flooding your atmosphere with clarity that cannot be debated or dismissed. My voice will echo in every room of your heart that's been closed off, and every part of you that still trembles will recognize that I am not just calling, I am summoning. This is no longer about interpretation, it's about recognition. You don't need another sign to know I am near. You need to silence the voices that don't sound like me, and I will help you. I will rise above the lies that tried to rename you, above the noise of shame that told you you weren't ready, above the volume of fear that told you to run. My voice carries peace, but not the kind that lets you remain idle, it's the kind that stirs holy movement. I will speak in such a way that even your doubt will tremble. You won't be able to ignore me in this moment, because everything around you will begin to align with what I'm declaring. Nature will testify, time will bear witness, and your soul will burn with recognition. I'm not just speaking, I'm targeting every inner wall you've built to keep me out. They are crumbling even now. I'm louder than your schedule, louder than your past, louder than the echo of every lie that tried to bury your purpose. You've asked why you can't sleep, why peace won't settle, and it's because I am louder than ever, refusing to let you miss this moment. Your name is being called in heaven, and angels are dispatched with messages tied to your next step. Can you hear me yet? I'm not in the chaos, I'm above it. But I'm speaking through it, rearranging everything that has overwhelmed you until all that's left is me. You don't need to strain to hear when I'm the only voice standing in your soul. I will speak through the stillness, but I'll also break through the noise with a sound that changes everything. This is that sound, the kind that awakens the dead places in you, the kind that breaks cycles, the kind that demands decision. Don't tell me you can't hear, tell me you're ready to obey. I've been speaking all along. You just weren't tuned in. But tonight, I've removed every obstruction. You'll hear me when you stop defending your delay. You'll hear me when you release the grip on what I never gave you. You'll hear me when you finally silence every voice that speaks against your destiny. And once you hear me clearly, once you recognize that this is not just another inspiration, but an instruction, I expect you to move. Because my voice is not an accessory to your comfort. It's a command into your future. And when I speak, things shift. So let them shift. And while the shadows creep across everything familiar, seeking to swallow what once seemed safe, I remain unshaken, untouched, unwavering, and I am still reaching for you with arms of blazing clarity. The world around you is shifting faster than your senses can process. But even in the blur of confusion, my light remains fixed, piercing through the thickest veil of fear and deception. I know how quickly night seems to fall now, how the darkness disguises itself in trends, in logic, in distractions that feel harmless. But I tell you with holy fire, the hour is late, and the darkness is not passive. It is moving. It is whispering. It is working to numb your urgency, to lull your spirit into a silence that agrees with compromise. But I have already broken the silence. I am the light that still calls your name with unwavering clarity. This light is not soft and flickering, it is forceful, exact, designed to expose what you've been too afraid to look at. My child, you're not imagining the intensity around you. Hell knows what time it is, and it's hoping you don't. But I am greater than what's advancing, and I have not called you to be swallowed. I have called you to stand, to shine, to reflect the radiance that cannot be dimmed by growing shadows. I do not speak of natural light, I speak of a supernatural fire that burns through dissection, that identifies what's true even when the world calls it foolish. My light does not adapt to the times, it defines them. And I am shining it now upon the parts of your life that need divine rearrangement. You can't pretend anymore that you don't see what's happening. You can feel the urgency in your spirit, the trembling beneath your routine, the sense that everything is building toward a moment that demands more than casual attention. That's because it is. This light is calling your name, not gently, not softly, but with fierce intention. Not to shame you, but to save you. Not to embarrass you, but to awaken you. My light never exposes without purpose, it exposes to heal, to guide, to reveal the step you've been praying for but afraid to take. And if you follow it, you will not be lost. But if you ignore it, you will wander into a night that was never meant for you. Do not listen to the noise that says everything is fine. Listen to the truth screaming within you that says this is not where you belong. My light will confront your comfort before it releases your calling. That uneasiness you've tried to shake off is not confusion, it's revelation. You are being summoned to move, to act, to respond before the darkness tightens its grip on the spaces where you delayed. You think you have time, but even time is kneeling to my timeline now. The light I offer doesn't just reveal what's wrong, it illuminates what must be done. I'm not showing you the darkness to scare you, I'm showing it to you because I'm giving you a way out. But the exit is narrow. It requires surrender. It demands alignment. You don't have the luxury to debate anymore. The more you hesitate, the more the shadows move. But look, my light is not fading. It is intensifying. Even now, I am setting fires in places you thought would always stay dark. Even now, I am dismantling lies that made you think you were too far gone. Even now, I am reminding you, your name is not written in the dark, it is written in the light. And that name, your true identity, your true assignment, Your unshakable future is calling out from within me. The light does not need the world's approval to shine, it only needs your agreement to guide you forward. And I am still calling. Loud. Clear. Now, and before the weight of sleep tries to steal your awareness, before silence drapes itself over the truth I've set before your spirit, I urge you with all the urgency of heaven, face it now. What I've placed before you is not meant to be postponed, ignored, or brushed aside like another passing thought. It is the divine confrontation of a holy invitation, one that comes wrapped not in fear, but in fire. This is the moment where you either acknowledge what I've shown you or allow it to slip through fingers, grown numb from delay. Do not close your eyes pretending you didn't feel me shaking the ground of your assumptions. Do not retreat into comfort when I've broken through the noise to stir you awake. You've asked for answers, but now that I've set them in front of you, will you dare to look? Will you dare to respond before the night steals away the space I've given you to act? I did not give you this revelation to torment you, I gave it to position you. I'm not trying to overwhelm you, I'm trying to free you. But that freedom can't come if you keep blinking away the clarity I've set in your path. What you see right now, what I've revealed in your heart, is sacred ground. You're not looking at ordinary decisions, you're staring at turning points etched with eternal weight. Every delay from this moment forward is disobedience disguised as caution. What I've placed before you may not make sense in the eyes of the world, but it is perfectly aligned with my will. You do not need every answer to obey, you only need to surrender the need to control the outcome. I know the resistance you feel, the internal war between what's comfortable and what's divine. But I am not calling you to comfort, I'm calling you to consecration. This moment is holy, and I will not let you walk into tomorrow without pressing this truth upon your spirit. You think you'll revisit this later, that you'll have time to return to it when life quiets down, but I tell you, this moment was designed as a one-time opening for a permanent shift. If you close your eyes now without responding, you may wake up to a version of life that feels familiar but is disconnected from the path I marked for you. Don't let the night steal what my light revealed. I have placed something in front of you that demands attention now, before your head touches the pillow, before your mind drifts into the safety of slumber. Wrestle with it. Acknowledge it. Surrender to it. Let it burn in you until the excuses melt and only truth remains. I am not asking you to fix it all in a moment, I'm asking you to stop avoiding what I've already made clear. You know what I'm talking about. A decision, the step, that conversation, that repentance, that surrender. It's not vague. It's not confusing. It's been hovering on the edge of your spirit, waiting for your agreement. And I'm still here, still waiting, not out of passivity, but with divine insistence. This is not just a call, it's a confrontation between what you're clinging to and what I've called you into. You cannot carry both. And tonight, before your eyes grow heavy and your heart grows numb, I am giving you one more push, one more whisper edged with urgency. Do not turn away from what I've set before you. Look at it. Own it. Release it. Respond to it. Because if you sleep without facing it, you'll wake up wondering why you feel further away from me when I never move. It was you who looked away. It was you who ignored the moment. But it doesn't have to end like that. Not tonight. Not now. I am still speaking. I am still reaching. I am still setting things before you that only your obedience can activate. Don't close your eyes until you've confronted it. Don't let another night pass with your calling on pause and the truth you've been trying to avoid by staying busy, by pretending not to notice, by numbing yourself with distractions. It's gaining speed. You sense the heaviness in the air, the tension that builds in moments you can't explain, the sudden stillness that feels like the breath before the storm. That's because what's coming cannot be ignored, and no amount of planning or pretending will delay it. You cannot outrun this shift, not with more effort, not with more denial, not with more comfort. But you were never meant to outrun it. You were meant to be anchored in me when it arrived. The wind is rising, but you don't need to be swept away. The tremors are growing, but you don't need to be shaken. I'm not calling you to flee, I'm calling you to be fortified. Your survival is not in running faster, but in standing stronger, and you will only be strong if your foundation is rooted in my truth, not your own understanding. The pressure that's coming will expose what's built on me and what's built on shifting sand. It will strip away illusions and demand substance. This is not about fear, it's about preparation. I am the safe place, the solid ground, the covering you need when everything else begins to bend and break. But you must be with me before the break begins. You cannot wait until the shaking starts to build what I've been calling you to construct. And what's coming is not distant, it's at your doorstep. I've been trying to position you, to shift your perspective, to wean you off the temporary supports you've trusted for far too long. But you keep trying to outrun conviction by chasing distractions, outrun surrender by hiding behind religious routines, outrun the call by delaying the cost. But hear me, no strategy, no escape, no alternative will shield you from what only my presence can handle. I am not telling you this to frighten you, I'm telling you this to free you from the illusion that you are in control. You've built plans, and you've clung to timetables that I never authorized. And now, as the time collapses in upon itself and the waves of reality begin to rise, I'm reminding you, readiness isn't found in strategy, it's found in surrender. Being ready through me doesn't mean knowing the details. It means being rooted in trust, drenched in my word, and covered in obedience. It means being so aligned with my voice that when the winds shift, you don't panic, you listen. When the foundations of others crumble, you remain steady because you were already standing where I told you to be. And this is the invitation I'm giving you right now, not to run, but to remain. Not to hustle, but to hear. Out of fear, but to follow. I've already gone ahead of what's coming. I've already made provision in the unseen. I've already dispatched angels to the roads you will walk. But I cannot protect what you refuse to place in my hands. The storm is not your problem, disobedience is. If you're with me, the storm will pass through you without undoing you. But if you remain disconnected, if you choose to delay, if you insist on trying to fix what only I can prepare, then the very thing meant to draw you into my arms may be what breaks the ground beneath you. Let me prepare you. Let me root you. Let me wash away every false shield you've built. I am not offering a shelter that merely survives the impact, I am offering a life that shines through it. But readiness requires obedience now, not when you feel like it, not when it's easier, not when the noise dies down. You can't outrun what's coming, but if you are hidden in me, you won't need to. Because I am not shaken, and neither will you be. And now, as your spirit begins to realize that what once felt unmovable is trembling beneath your feet, understand this is not chaos. This is me. A disruption is not punishment, it is purification. I am not breaking you to destroy you, I am shaking you to deliver you. The systems you trusted, the routines you depended on, the people you built your identity around, none of them can carry the weight of what I am doing next. I allowed the shaking, not because I was absent, but because I was intensely present, working in places your comfort wouldn't let me enter. I'm peeling back the surface to expose the core. I am letting what was temporary crumble so you will finally cling to what cannot be taken. What you called security was often just a silent idol, something you leaned on more than me. So I shook it. And yes, I will shake more. Because what is eternal in you will never be threatened by the tremble. What I have planted in your soul cannot be uprooted by instability, it only grows deeper in the quake. You've asked me why doors closed, why people walked away, why the things that once made sense are no longer enough, and now I'm answering, not with explanation but with revelation. It was all to bring you here, to this moment, to this unveiling. I had to remove the scaffolding so you'd realize it wasn't the structure, it was my spirit holding you together all along. The shaking is a gift disguised as loss. I'm not trying to leave you exposed, I'm trying to anchor you in what will not be removed. And it's working. Every time something slipped through your hands, I was asking, will you trust what remains? Will you see me in the rubble and realize that I am still God when the dust rises? This is what refinement looks like. The shaking is not cruelty, it is clarity. Because now you can finally see what was built on sand and what was built on me. Your heart needed this, though it hurt. Your faith needed this though it stretched. Your calling needed this because what's ahead requires purity you wouldn't have chosen without pressure. I am not afraid of your trembling. I hold you even as you question me. But I will not stop the shaking until you release what I never told you to keep. That relationship, that title, that expectation, that grudge, that lie. I'm shaking it all not to confuse you, but to clear the way. You won't need to rebuild everything you lost, only what I breathe life back into. I am revealing eternal things now, and eternity is never built on the fragile comforts of this world. I will rebuild, but only with what is unshakable, only with what is holy, only with what you surrender. What you thought was stable, what you once clung to with clenched fists, is now being removed with divine force. But in its place, I am revealing something that cannot fall. Myself, my truth, my presence, my assignment, my purpose in you. These will remain when everything else fades. And if you look closely, even through the disruption, you'll see it. I'm rebuilding you from the inside out. The foundation is shifting, yes, but you are being placed on solid rock. You will not collapse. Not because you're strong, but because I am. And I am not moved. The world may shake, the plans may fall, the familiar may scatter, but I remain. And now I ask you, what are you still holding on to that cannot survive the tremble? Let it fall. Let it go. Let the shaking finish its work so I can begin the new thing in its place. You won't need what you lost. You will only need what I remain in. What's truly eternal is not what you kept, it's what I preserved. And it's rising now, even as the rest falls away, and now that the dust is rising around the ruins of what I've shaken, I need you to see clearly what hesitation has the power to destroy. You've been taught that delay is harmless, that postponing obedience is merely a matter of preference or convenience, but I tell you, this is a deception from the pit meant to dismantle destinies silently. What you delay today becomes the very wedge that separates you from the fulfillment I prepared for your name. There are moments I designed to align with heaven's movement, and when you hesitate, you step out of the current and into spiritual stillness, where the enemy whispers that you still have time. But child, time is not on your terms. My timing is not a suggestion, it is a divine alignment. And every time you choose caution over calling, you risk watching what could have been slipped through the cracks of indecision. The door I have opened before you right now is not simply an opportunity, it is an assignment carrying the weight of people you've never met, breakthroughs you've never imagined, and lives that will either flourish or falter depending on your yes. When you delay, it's not only your life that is affected, it's every soul I've appointed you to reach. The calling I placed within you is not about status or comfort, it is a divine mandate written in eternal ink. And with every moment you tell yourself, not yet, you hand over ground to an enemy who knows that hesitation is more effective than open rebellion. Because hesitation wears the disguise of wisdom, of responsibility, even of humility, but at its core, it's disobedience decorated in justifications. You keep asking me for clarity, but I've already spoken. What you want is comfort, not confirmation. But I am not catering to your comfort, I'm calling out your courage. Because what's at stake is not just time, it's purpose, it's legacy, it's impact. And while the enemy can't erase your calling, he can distract you long enough to make you miss the moment where it was supposed to activate. You think you'll return to it when life slows down, but by then the season has shifted, the soil is no longer soft, and what was once ready is now delayed in dormancy. I'm not saying it's gone forever, I'm saying the cost will be greater. I redeem, yes, but I don't reverse time. What you forfeit through delay may not come back in the same form. So I plead with you now, not as a judge, but as the one who authored your days with intentional fire. Don't delay what I've set in motion. If you step now, I go before you. If you delay now, you'll have to rebuild momentum with tears that could have been spared. This moment carries the weight of future harvests. Seeds are falling right now, and your agreement is the soil. But hesitation hardens what should remain soft. You don't need all the answers to move. You just need to say yes before the opportunity walks past you. I do not threaten, I reveal. And I'm revealing now that your delay is not neutral. It's costly. It has weight. It has ripple effects you cannot see. It's not just about losing time, it's about losing alignment, missing doors, and forfeiting territories that were assigned to your influence. You are standing at a thin place where heaven has leaned in and earth is waiting to respond. Do not keep me waiting while you count the cost of your comfort. I have counted the cost of your calling. It required blood. It required sacrifice. It required a cross. So yes, it will cost you something. But what you gain will not be temporary. It will be eternal. Do not let delay write a different ending than the one I prepared. Move now, before today becomes the yesterday you regret. Respond now, before the window narrows. What's coming is too important. What's inside you is too holy. What I've called you to is too urgent. And what you delay today may not just cost you time, it may cost you everything I prepared for your yes. And if you're still trying to convince yourself that this message is for someone else, then understand this. I didn't deliver it into your atmosphere for casual hearing. I targeted you with precision because your name is written into the center of this moment. Stop looking over your shoulder, hoping to shift the weight of this word onto another soul more willing or seemingly more qualified. This is not a general announcement echoing into a crowd. It is a divine appointment spoken directly into the chambers of your heart, crafted around the coordinates of your journey, your delays, your calling, your resistance. I am not addressing the masses, I am addressing you. I have entered the private space where your thoughts wrestle, where your questions gather like shadows in the corners of your mind. I have stepped into the middle of that silent debate you've been having with yourself, the one where you convince your spirit to wait, to hide, to blend in. But I did not create you for silence or camouflage. I formed you to carry light into regions where others would falter. I breathed purpose into you, not to be buried under layers of doubt, but to rise in appointed timing, this timing. And now, I am making it unmistakably clear. The weight you feel in your chest, the heat pressing against your thoughts, the sharpness of conviction cutting through the fog, that is me. That is my presence refusing to let you walk past this word without being pierced by it. Others may hear this and feel stirred, but I am asking you to feel moved. I am asking you to stop scrolling, stop comparing, stop filtering every instruction through someone else's timeline. This is not a conversation for the crowd. This is an intervention for your soul. There are assignments locked inside you that will not be released until you stop assuming that the urgency I'm delivering is optional. It's not. It's divinely timed and unmistakably personal. I am not here to entertain your intellect or flatter your spiritual pride. I am here to awaken what you've been trying to smother under reasons that sound wise but have no power. I know every excuse you've whispered to yourself. I know every argument you've rehearsed for why you're not ready, not chosen, not equipped. And I am silencing every one of them with the truth that I picked you, knowing all of that already. I chose you with full knowledge of your flaws, your failures, your fears. Still, I called you. And now I'm speaking again, not to remind you of what disqualifies you, but to remind you that my call has always been louder than your weakness. You've heard me before, but you let it pass. You felt me before, but you talked yourself down. Not this time. I'm coming for the core of who you are. I'm coming for the version of you that's buried beneath expectations, labels, shame, and delay. I'm coming for the dream you stopped believing in, the courage you left behind, the fire you let burn too low. I'm reigniting what you thought was gone forever, and I'm doing it by confronting you right now, personally, directly, unmistakably. Others may dismiss this as dramatic, but you know deep in your spirit that I've been circling this conversation with you for far too long. You've felt my pull in the quiet, in the unrest, in the late night ache you couldn't explain. And now, I've turned the volume up. I've made it unavoidable. This is your moment. No one else can carry what's been given to you. No one else can walk through the open door that has your name carved into the threshold. This isn't about pride, it's about purpose. I have need of you, not a future version of you now. In your brokenness, in your fear, in your trembling yes. I'm calling you to stop disqualifying yourself from a battle I already equipped you to win. This word is not floating in spiritual ambiguity, it is rooted in your reality. This is not for your neighbor, not for your pastor, not for your future, it's for you right now. I am aiming this at your soul, and I will not miss. You are the one I'm after. You are the one I love. You are the one I've appointed. And you are the one I'm speaking to in this very breath, and now that your heart has begun to truly hear me, understand this next truth with clarity. What was once accessible without cost will soon demand surrender. There was a time when my mercy allowed you to walk through doors without the full weight of discipline, when grace swept you forward even when your steps wavered. But you are not in that time anymore. This is the season where access is attached to alignment, where doors will not open to the casual glance or hesitant hand, they will respond only to the key of obedience. I am not speaking of salvation, I am speaking of divine access, the kind that pulls down revelation, activates your assignment, and positions you for influence beyond your current reach. Those doors are changing. Where you once leaned on favor alone, I now call you to stand in obedience. The realm you are being called into is holy, not just heavenly, and holiness is the currency required to move forward. You cannot bring old habits to new thresholds. You cannot carry pride into sacred ground. I am drawing a line in the spirit where doors begin to differentiate between the willing and the wavering. If you try to enter with only memory of past moments, you will find that the door does not respond. This is not rejection, it is refinement. It is me ensuring that what lies on the other side is preserved for those who have been prepared. I am not limiting you, I am inviting you into deeper partnership. You want to see my hand, but I want to see your heart. You want to experience my breakthrough, but I want to establish your identity. The door will not open for borrowed obedience, for half-hearted steps, for delayed surrender. This is the moment where faith becomes visible through action. I am not moved by emotion, I am moved by trust. And trust looks like action, even when it trembles. These doors are not symbolic. They are spiritual intersections, moments in time that unlock layers of your purpose, clarity in your calling, and territory in the unseen. But I will not let you enter prematurely. I am not punishing you, I am protecting what's behind the door and preserving what's within you. If I gave you access too soon, it would become a burden rather than a blessing. It's why obedience matters now more than ever, not just obedience in the visible acts, but obedience in the unseen places, your thoughts, your motives, your posture when no one is watching. These things matter more than you realize. You may not see how your internal alignment affects your external access, but I do. I weigh it all. And what you call delay is often me preparing you for doors that respond only to those who carry weight, not words. You've been knocking, but now I ask, are you carrying what I've told you to pick up? Have you laid down what I asked you to leave behind? Because this door doesn't answer to wishful thinking. It answers to obedience laced with trust. The reason some doors feel heavier now is because what's behind them has greater weight, greater cost, and greater glory. And I will not cheapen that by making it easily accessible to casual pursuit. I love you too much to let you walk through and prepare. This is not about striving, it's about aligning. This is not about earning, it's about emptying. Will you strip down your will? Will you surrender your timeline? Will you walk not because it makes sense, but because I said so? Because the door will recognize my voice in you. It won't open to noise, but it will open to my name spoken through a yielded life. You don't need to figure it all out. You just need to walk in step. The moment you move, when I say move, without delay, without demand, without detour, the door will shift. The sound of obedience echoes louder than your prayers ever could. And in this hour, I am listening for the sound of footsteps that follow even when the path isn't explained. The door is waiting. But now, it waits for obedience. And you must know by now that nothing remains concealed in the presence of the one who sees not just what is done, but why it is done. I have waited with unmatched patience, allowing you room to wrestle, to pretend, to bury pieces of yourself behind the curtain of justification. But the hour has grown too urgent. the weight of your assignment too great for me to let you carry secret burdens into a season that requires transparency and truth. I am not searching for perfection, I am searching for surrender. And what you continue to tuck away in silence, hoping time will erase or justify, is becoming a breach in the foundation I am trying to solidify beneath your feet. This is not about shame, it is about safety. What you try to protect through hiding, I am calling you to hand over through honesty. Because what is hidden will eventually be hunted by darkness, and if it is not surrendered to my light, it will become a foothold for the very thing you are praying to escape. I will not allow compromise to travel with you into a calling that demands purity. I am too faithful to let you pretend. You think that hiding protects your image, but it only robs you of intimacy. You've covered it with explanations, with spiritual-sounding phrases, with the illusion that because others don't see it, it can't hurt you. But I see it. I've seen it the whole time. The pain you never processed, the habit you minimized, the pride you baptized in language that sounds holy, but avoids obedience. And I've been waiting not with anger, but with the urgency of a surgeon holding healing in his hands, watching you choose infection over incision. But tonight, I make it plain, if you do not surrender what you've been hiding, it will be brought into the light in a way you cannot control. Not to harm you, but to free you from the deception that secrecy equals safety. I have tried whispering, but now I am pressing. The places you refuse to open will become the very places the enemy exploits if you don't release them into my hands. I know what you fear, that I'll reject you when I see the truth. But child, I already know the truth. I knew it when I called you. I knew it when I clothed you in grace. I knew it when I gave you breathe this morning. I am not asking for surrender because I need to know what's there. I'm asking because you need to be free from its weight before the weight of your next assignment presses upon you. You're praying for me to open doors, but I'm waiting for you to open the box you sealed with silence. I will not share space in your heart with what you protect more than my presence. And not hurt him. And holiness demands exposure, not to destroy, but to deliver. You keep saying you're waiting on me, but the truth is I'm waiting on your surrender. There are blessings stacked behind the blockade of what you refuse to admit. There are breakthroughs prepared for the places you won't give me access to. What you keep hidden becomes your ceiling. But when you surrender it, when you lay it down, no matter how long you've carried it or how deeply it's rooted, then I can breathe new life into you. You've cried for healing, but healing starts where hiding ends. Tonight is not about punishment. It's about purity. It's about alignment. It's about preparing you for weighty things that require a heart fully yielded, not partially guarded. I'm not asking you to fix it, only to give it. The fear, the pride, the habit, the hurt, the secret. Give it to me. Lay it down. Let me redeem what shame told you to bury. If you don't surrender it now, it will be exposed by force later. But if you surrender it willingly tonight, I will cover you, cleanse you, and make you ready for what's next. Because what's ahead cannot mix with what's hidden. The light I am calling you into cannot dwell in the shadows you refuse to leave behind. And before another second slips through your hands, understand this: the very moment you're standing in, reading these words with a heart that trembles and a spirit that stirs, is not random. This is not coincidence, accident, or mere timing. This right now is the sign you pleaded for when you said, "Lord, just show me one more time, and I'll move." I heard you then, and I am answering now, not with thunder in the sky, not with fire from a mountain, but with a word so clear, so direct, so divinely timed that your soul cannot pretend not to recognize its origin. This is the final signal before movement must begin. This is not a rehearsal, it is the moment I've been preparing you for, through every delay, every correction, every silent night, where you wondered if I still saw you. I saw you, and I see you now. And I am not just observing, I am intervening. I am marking this moment with holy weight. I am making it unmistakable, undeniable, and irreversible. You have waited for confirmation, but now I am waiting for obedience. There is no other sign coming. You keep praying for clarity, but clarity is not the issue. Your next step is. I've confirmed enough. I've spoken in dreams. I've echoed through sermons. I've tugged on your heart through quiet moments and divine interruptions. I've sent my messengers. I've shifted your circumstances. I've unsettled your comfort. And now I give you this, one last declaration before the window tightens and the path narrows. Not because I am cruel, but because my mercy carries urgency. I know the weight of what's coming, and I want you positioned to withstand it. If you keep waiting for something louder, something more dramatic, something that fits neatly within your expectations, you'll miss what I've handcrafted for this very hour. I don't owe you another sign. I gave you this one because I love you too much to let you drift. You asked for a signal and I've sent it. But a sign is powerless if it's not followed. I cannot walk the path for you, but I can make the path undeniable. And that is what I have done. The excuses you've rehearsed can no longer stand under the authority of what I've revealed. This is your moment of release. Act now. Not because you feel ready. Not because you understand the whole picture, but because I have spoken, and my voice demands movement. There's a cost to disobedience you cannot afford. There's a consequence to delay that cannot be reversed once time completes its circuit. I have placed the choice in front of you again, not to test you, but to free you. The choice to follow even when it's unfamiliar. The choice to step even when it's uncertain. The choice to trust that what I have planned is far more secure than what you've been clinging to. The door is open, but it will not remain so indefinitely. This sign is your activation point. Heaven has already shifted. Angels have been dispatched. Provision hath been prepared. And now the only thing missing is your movement. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to make sense of it to others. You just need to act. Because the sign has been sent. Because the moment has been marked. Because your hesitation has already cost enough. You are not being pushed, you are being pulled by love too holy to let you stay stuck. I've waded through your questions. I sat with your fears. I've wrapped you in grace even as you stood frozen. But now I speak with thunder, not to crush you, but to command what's inside you to rise. I do not send signs to entertain your hope, I send them to release your destiny. And this one is final. Act now. Before delay rewrites what could have bloomed. Before fear takes root again. Before the enemy seizes what obedience could have secured. You asked for a sign. I answered. And now your yes must follow. And even when you've convinced yourself that I've grown quiet, even when you've buried my voice beneath the noise of your thoughts, your failures, your waiting, I have not moved. I am not far. I am not fading. I am not watching from a distance while you collapse beneath the weight of the unknown. I am standing right there at the edge of the silence that has surrounded you like a thick fog, at the very boundary of the void where you thought I had disappeared. I have not gone anywhere. You may not feel me, but I've never stopped reaching. I've never stopped leaning in. Every tear you didn't cry out loud, I caught. Every thought you couldn't form into prayer, I understood. And now I speak again, not from afar, but from right beside the very moment you're in. I know the way silence can sound like abandonment when your spirit is aching for instruction. I know how stillness can be misread as absence when all you want is a whisper to hold on to. But silence is not my withdrawal, it is often my positioning. I have been standing in the stillness, waiting for your surrender, not your strength. You have filled the quiet with your own voices, opinions, and plans, and yet I have waited patiently, because I know what comes after your words run out. The real encounter. The moment where all that's left is me. I do not wait in anger, I wait in love. A love that doesn't force its way into your noise but stands in the sacred tension, hands outstretched, eyes fixed on you, heart burning with mercy, ready to respond the moment your soul turns toward me without pretense. You've mistaken my stillness for delay, but I've been steadying everything around you so you can finally hear me without interruption. You've asked why I didn't break through louder, but my voice is not an invader, it's an invitation. And now, in this moment where your resistance is wearing thin, where your strength is unraveling, I step even closer, not to scold, but to restore. I do not need your perfect words, I need your honest surrender. You keep waiting for the right moment, but I've already stepped into this one. I'm not watching from a throne of distance, I'm standing on the threshold of your breaking point, calling you into breakthrough. I've heard every unspoken fear. I've seen every wall you've built to protect yourself from disappointment. And still, I stayed. I didn't leave when the silence grew heavy. I didn't leave when you stopped trying. I remained. Because my presence is not conditional. My nearness is not earned. And even now, in the middle of your numbness, your confusion, your fatigue, I am here. Standing. Reaching. Waiting. There is no depth I will not stand in if it means I can be near to you. I am not a distant God watching from the heights, I am the one who came down, who steps into the dark without hesitation, who stands at the edge of the silence you thought I would never enter. But I am not waiting to be invited anymore, I am speaking again. And the moment you allow that silence to be broken, even with the smallest whisper, you'll feel the weight of my presence rush in like a tide that never left. You don't need to perform to get me back, you only need to acknowledge that I never left. You've begged for me to draw near, but I've already been closer than your breath. It's not my distance that needs to change, it's your awareness. I'm not on the way, I'm already here. And I'm not asking for loud response, I'm asking for a real one. A heart that dares to say, "Speak, Lord, I'm finally listening." A soul that drops its defenses and simply opens the door. I'm not knocking anymore, I'm standing inside the silence itself, waiting for the moment you realize that even in your quietest place, I've been closer than you ever imagined. And as I stand within the silence that wrapped around your delay, I must now show you just how weighty this moment truly is, not just for you, but for eternity itself. Do you understand that all of heaven is leaning forward right now? That angels have paused their praise, creation is stilling its song, and the very atmosphere around your life has gone quiet, not in absence, but in anticipation. This moment, this choice, this quiet yes or no that you are about to give carries the weight of destinies beyond your own. You thought it was just another night, another whisper from me, another stirring you could think about tomorrow. But I tell you with truth sharper than ever before, the heavens are not watching passively, they are holding their breath, waiting to see if you will choose alignment or delay, purpose or pause, obedience or hesitation. I am not speaking to pressure you, I am speaking to awaken you to the spiritual reality unfolding in real time. This is not about pressure, it is about perspective. The decision you make tonight does not echo in your room alone. It echoes across realms. There are assignments hanging in the balance. There are souls who will never hear your voice if you do not say yes. There are doors that will not open for anyone else because they were created to respond to your surrender. And now, in this holy tension where your heart knows something is different, something irreversible, something eternal, you must decide. I will not force you. I do not violate your will. But I will not hide the gravity of what rests on the other side of your answer. You've prayed to be used. You begged me to speak. You've cried out for clarity, for movement, for change. And now that I've come with a word tailor-made for your moment, will you trust that it carries more than emotion, it carries divine weight? Don't think heaven is indifferent to this crossroads. I have dispatched angels who stand ready with assignments in hand, but their release depends on your obedience. I have prepared alignments that will only activate if you take the step. The stage hath been set. The spiritual pieces have been positioned. All that remains is your agreement. Your yes. Not a shallow yes that lasts for a moment, but a full surrender that seals your future. You are not small in this story. You are central to it. Your choice matters. Not because I'm incapable without you, but because I designed you to be part of the unfolding. I wrote your role into the script, and I long for you to walk in it, not partially, not someday, but now. Tonight. Right here. Right now. I know the battle raging in your chest. I know the weight pressing against your thoughts. But heaven waits. Not in judgment, but in hope. I want you to say yes. I want you to move. Not for me to be glorified alone, but for you to be fulfilled in the way your spirit has longed for but never fully grasped. You were made for more than waiting on the edge of purpose. You were made to live it. You were born for this kind of moment when heaven goes still, and all of creation leans in, and the king stands silent not because he has nothing left to say, but because he has said enough. Now it's your turn. Will you walk away again, telling yourself you will try tomorrow? Or will you finally surrender, knowing this moment was written into time before you ever breathed your first? Heaven is not pressuring you, it is longing for you, hoping you will see the beauty of obedience, the depth of destiny, the sound of chains breaking not just for you but for all connected to you. This is the moment where the divine pauses and waits for the earthly to say yes. I have held space for your decision. Now all of heaven is listening. And even now, as your mind grows tired and your body begins to seek rest, know this: the enemy has already drawn his blueprint for your vulnerability. He knows when you let your guard down. He watches when you pretend all is well on the outside while unrest brews quietly beneath your smile. He waits for the silence of the night not because he is powerful, but because he is subtle, and your silence is the doorway he hopes you leave unlocked. But I am standing here, not beyond reach, not in the distance, right here, on the edge of your weariness, ready to take the post that no one else can occupy. But I will not force my way past your hesitation. I will not invade a place that you have not surrendered. I protect what you place under my authority, and I defend what you submit fully, not partially, not temporarily, but completely. The enemy doesn't need to destroy your whole life to succeed, he only needs to steal your peace. Because peace is your compass. Peace is the atmosphere where revelation flourishes and where trust grows strong. If he can fill your nights with anxious thoughts and quiet doubts, he can make your mornings feel like burdens instead of beginnings. And I see it how often you've laid down to rest, only to be ambushed by thoughts you didn't invite. I see the fear that creeps in when no one is looking, the questions that swirl when the world is asleep. But I have not left you defenseless. I am not merely watching from afar while shadows press against your windows. I am the lion who stands watch. I am the flame that never dims. I am the presence that shifts the atmosphere the moment you say, "Lord, come in." You don't need to have the right words. You don't need to beg for my protection. You only need to invite me to take my rightful place at the threshold of your soul, at the gate of your mind, at the center of your being. The enemy has been crafting illusions to disturb your rest and blur your clarity, but I've come to remind you, if I am within, nothing from outside can overcome you. Your peace is not a luxury, it is your inheritance. And tonight, I am offering to restore what the enemy has been slowly eating away. But I need your permission to step into every room you've tried to guard yourself. You've let me into your prayers, but will you let me into your fears? You've trusted me with your worship, but will you trust me with your wounds? Peace is not found in pretending everything is okay. Peace is found in knowing I am present even when everything is not. I do not need circumstances to change to give you rest, I only need access. I stand guard when you stop trying to fix what was never yours to carry. I step in when you stop performing and start surrendering. The enemy is bold, but he is no match for my authority. He comes like a thief, subtle and persistent, but I do not sleep, and I do not retreat. I'm not intimidated by the darkness. I created the light that drives it out. And tonight, that light is ready to fill every corner where anxiety has built its throne. But you must decide, will you allow me to be more than a concept? Will you allow me to be your defense? I want to silence every lie before it finds a place to settle. I want to wrap your mind in truth so tightly that no fear can slither through the cracks. I want to guard your rest with the weight of my word and the shield of my presence. Not because you've earned it, but because I've promised it. If you let me in tonight, the enemy won't just flee, he'll have no place to return to. You won't just sleep, you'll rest. You won't just survive the night, you'll rise with renewed clarity and strength the world cannot explain. Let me in, not to your appearance, but to your reality. Let me, and not with conditions, but with complete surrender. For I am the watchman who never grows weary, and I will not let what was planned against you prosper while you sleep beneath my covering. And though you may not yet comprehend the full measure of what has been spared, shifted, or delayed for your sake, I need you to know this: I have been preserving you with relentless intention. Every near miss, every closed door, every unexpected redirection was not random, it was my sovereign protection, woven through your journey like an invisible thread of mercy. There were moments you should have crumbled, but I sustained you. Seasons where others faltered, but I kept you standing. Situations designed to derail you, yet you remained. Not because you were strong, but because I had already decided that your story could not end in the storm. I placed my covering over you while you walked through chaos, unaware of how close danger truly was. I surrounded you with grace when you didn't even know you needed it. I fought battles on your behalf that never touched your ears, because I had already spoken over your life that you would be here for this. Right now. This is not just another chapter. It is the culmination of years where my hand was working behind the curtain, shaping you, shielding you, setting you apart. I preserved you not to merely exist, but to be ready. Ready to rise. Ready to move. Ready to become all I imagined when I first thought you into existence. You see scars, I see preparation. You see delays, I see alignment. You see interruptions, I see interventions. Everything the enemy tried to use against you became the very soil where your resilience was born. And now, you stand at the brink of a divine release, a moment where everything in the spirit shifts forward, but it hinges on your awareness. You cannot afford to treat this as ordinary. You cannot scroll past this moment and return to life as usual. I did not keep you through all that pain, confusion, and waiting so you could remain unchanged at the threshold of transformation. I preserve you for this very space in time because what you carry is necessary. What I've planted in you will unlock something in the lives of others that no one else can carry. But if you let this moment pass, if you dismiss this as inspiration instead of instruction, then what I preserved will remain buried instead of released. This is your awakening. This is your summons. This is the moment that demands your yes without hesitation. You keep asking me, why did I survive what others didn't? And I'm telling you, because your assignment is not finished. Your purpose is not dormant. Your presence on this earth still carries heaven's blueprint, and I will not allow you to drift when I've already declared destiny over you. I know you don't feel ready, but I've never chosen based on feelings, I choose based on purpose. And your purpose has been fiercely protected, even in seasons where you almost gave it away. I didn't preserve you just to prove I preserved you because what's ahead requires what only you can bring. So don't let fear make this moment slip away. Don't let doubt smother the fire I've reignited in you. You are not here by accident, you are here by divine orchestration. I moved mountains in silence to ensure you would be standing here, at this crossroads, with enough strength left in your bones to choose me again. You may not see it all clearly, but that's why I ask for obedience, not full understanding. You don't need to figure it all out, you just need to step into what I've already made room for. If you let this pass, it may return, but not in the same way, and not without cost. Don't gamble with a moment that heaven has preserved just for you. This isn't pressure, it's invitation. I am not forcing you, I am reminding you that everything I kept you through was not in vain. Every time you thought it was over, I was securing your future. Every time you nearly lost yourself, I was still holding you together. And now that the preservation has brought you to this threshold, the only question left is, will you step into what I saved you for? And as the weight of this moment presses upon your soul, you must realize what is truly unfolding around you. It is not ordinary. It is not cyclical. It is not just another emotional stirring that will return when you're more ready. This urgency is not a revolving invitation, it is a divine interruption carrying a time-sensitive window that will not remain open indefinitely. What I am offering now is sacred. It is tailored to this exact moment in your life, calibrated to the condition of your heart right now, and aligned with things in the spirit realm that you cannot see but are already moving on your behalf. And yes, I've been patient. I've waited through your doubts. I've remained close through your delays. I've spoken again and again, offering mercy after mercy. But tonight carries something different, something holy that cannot be duplicated, replicated, or postponed without cost. This is the moment where heaven intersects with your timeline, where eternity knocks on the door of your decision, and what I've placed before you requires not just awareness but response. Do not treat this with casual eyes. Do not assume that because I am gracious, I will keep circling back forever. Grace is abundant, but moments like this where I open a divine portal, where I extend an invitation that touches not just your life, but the generations coming after you, those moments are rare. And tonight is one of them. You sense it in your chest, that heaviness, that trembling, that strange sense of being both terrified and alive. It's because your spirit knows something divine is at stake. This is more than a call to encouragement, it's a command to movement. If you wait, the atmosphere will change. The wait will lift. And you wonder why the fire faded. It won't be because I'm on it, will be because the moment with miss. I will still love you. I will still call you. But what I have wrapped into this hour cannot be transferred to a future one. Just as the manna in the wilderness could not be hoarded, what I am pouring out now is for now. If you do not eat it fresh, it will spoil. I am not saying this to stir fear, I am saying this to awaken reverence. You have waited for a moment like this. You've cried for direction. You pleaded for clarity. And now I've answered not with theory, but with timing. This is me laying it all before you. And while I will never turn you away, you must understand that what I offer tonight is formed by a convergence that will not repeat itself in the same way again. Certain doors only open once. Certain alignments only remain for a breath of time before they shift. I am extending something to you now that will make sense only in hindsight if you reject it. I'm trying to prevent the ache of regret. I'm trying to save you from the sorrow of wondering what could have changed if you had only responded when you first felt the weight. You will remember this night. Whether you act or not, it will not vanish from your spirit. Because I have carved it into the timeline of your destiny as a turning point. I am not scaring you, I am inviting you into something beyond your imagination. What I offer now is not just opportunity, it's legacy. It's authority. It's impact that ripples past your lifetime. And you won't be able to create it again through effort or emotion. You can't recreate a divine moment once it's lifted, you can only look back and mourn what it might have birthed. But I do not desire for you to mourn, I desire for you to rise. That's why I'm speaking with such precision, with such fire, with such unmistakable clarity. You must understand that tonight is not like the others. The urgency is not emotional, it's spiritual. It's not just for inspiration, it's for ignition. Say yes now, not later. Step now, not tomorrow. Don't let the sacred slip away. What I offer now is rare and it's yours, if you move while the window is still open. And as you stand beneath the urgency of this moment, clutching the burdens you've worn like armor, I need you to understand what has accompanied you until now cannot remain with you in the next. That weight, though it became familiar, was never meant to be permanent. It may have helped you survive one season, but it will suffocate you in the next if you do not release it. You've grown used to carrying it, those private battles, unspoken fears, responsibilities you took on that I never asked you to carry, silent disappointments you've never voiced, the pain you manage behind forced strength. But I see what no one else does. I see how heavy it's become. I see how it slows your steps, how it clouds your clarity, how it chokes your joy and suppresses your hope. And while you've grown strong under its weight, you were not created to remain bound by it. The shift that is coming, what I'm ushering you into, requires freedom, not just faith. And freedom cannot be partial. You cannot carry both the future I've planned and the past you refuse to release. You cannot walk in fullness while dragging chains that have no place in your promise. I am not asking you to pretend the burden was never real. I'm asking you to finally hand it to the one who was never burdened by it. That heaviness you've managed so carefully, the emotional labor of keeping everything together while breaking on the inside, it cannot come with you. If you try to carry it further, it will become the very thing that breaks you. Not because you're weak, but because the next stretch of the road was designed for weightless obedience, not weary survival. I'm not condemning your strength, I'm honoring it by telling you that it's time to put it down. You've carried long enough. You've proven your endurance. But now I'm calling you into surrender. I didn't come to add more to your back, I came to lift what was crushing your soul. But I cannot take what you will not release. You keep asking me to bring you peace while you hold on to what peace cannot coexist with. That bitterness, that pressure, that internal pressure to prove, to perform, to be okay when you're not, that must be placed in my hands. This is not a suggestion, it is a divine command, born from love. You are approaching a terrain that demands unencumbered steps. What I'm preparing to open before you is wide, but it will not yield to one who walks with divided weight. Drop it. Lay it down. Not just in word but in action. Not just in thought but in truth. Trust that I am strong enough to hold what hath been threatening to undo you. Give me the fear that has become a lens, the shame that has become an identity, the burden of expectations that have stolen your joy. I want it all. Not because I need it, but because I never designed you to bear it. I want you to breathe again. I want you to rest again. I want you to wake up without dread and move without the invisible drag of emotional exhaustion. But it starts with a choice. Right now, in this holy, fragile moment, will you keep dragging the weight just because it's familiar, or will you finally trust me with it, once and for all? I am here, arms open, not just to receive your worship but to relieve your soul. Let me carry what's been killing your strength. Let me be more than a place you visit, let me be your refuge, your relief, your resting place. You don't need to figure out how to untangle every knot. You just need to place the rope in my hands. What's coming is beautiful, but it's also heavy and it can only be stewarded with empty hands and a free heart. Let go. I'm not walking away, I'm kneeling in front of you, reaching up, asking for what you've hidden behind your smile. I don't want you to carry it into another day. Give it to me now. Let the exchange begin. And now that you've heard me call for the weight to be released, now that I've stood before you and pleaded for surrender, you must recognize this truth with clarity deeper than you've ever allowed before. What you called more time was never licensed to delay, it was grace buying your rescue. Grace is not passive tolerance. It is not me looking the other way. Grace is me leaning in with full knowledge of your hesitation, your wandering, your internal resistance, and still covering you with the protection of a timeline adjusted by mercy. But don't confuse that mercy with endless permission. Every second you've been given until now hath been saturated in grace, not to feed your comfort but to preserve your position. It was grace that routed destruction when you didn't even know danger was approaching. It was grace that kept doors closed when you were knocking with desperation but lacking alignment. It was grace that held your heart intact when your surroundings were fractured and uncertain. And now that you're here standing on the edge of instruction, I must correct a lie that has lingered far too long in your spirit. Delay is not safety. Delay is not strategy. Delay is not discernment when I have already spoken. It's me, your Savior, reaching through every postponement with open hands and pleading eyes, asking you to see that grace was never meant to excuse your inaction, it was meant to bring you to the moment where action could no longer be avoided. You were not left behind. You were not forgotten. You were being drawn, pulled, carried through a wilderness of questions and contradictions so that you would arrive at this very place in one piece. That is grace. Not that you had more time, but that the time you had was shaped around your hesitation so that it wouldn't kill your future. You see delay as something neutral but in the spirit. Delay is a doorway. Either it becomes the place where you step into obedience or the place where you start losing the sharpness of conviction. Grace has shielded you long enough. Now grace is calling you to choose. I will not scream over your silence. I will not manipulate your will. But I will make you aware, the time you were given was not a cycle, it was a setup. This was a moment grace was building toward. Not so you could admire the scenery of spiritual readiness, but so you could finally walk through the opening I've preserved just for you. Every day you woke up without understanding why you hadn't moved forward, grace was holding your place. Every night you cried, asking me why nothing shifted, grace was keeping the enemy from gaining what was reserved for your yes. And now, grace speaks again, but not with delay, with decision. You have been protected not so you could sit safely in indecision, but so you could have one last chance to say yes while the light still lingers over the door. Because grace has a sound, and that sound is now becoming a cluck. Not to pressure you, but to awaken you. Not to condemn, but to reveal what's truly been happening behind what you called waiting for the right time. The right time is not some distant mystery, it's this very breath, this exact second, this sacred moment saturated with all the patience of heaven urging you not to delay again. If you move now, you step into what grace fought to preserve. If you delay now, you risk treating divine mercy as mere background music to your doubts. And I love you too much to let you mistake my kindness for indifference. Grace got you here, but it cannot carry you through doors that only obedience opens. I will always love you. I will always wait longer than you expect. But even my waiting carries a weight, and you are standing in it right now. Don't look back and call it grace if you use it to justify disobedience. Call it what it is, undeserved access, unearned rescue, a divine setup for a now that will not stretch forever. Move before grace turns to grief. Move because I'm still calling you. Move because you're still on time if you move now. And as grace confronts delay, as my voice pulls you back into alignment, you must now face this sobering truth: what you've constructed apart from me cannot withstand what's approaching. You've built with determination. You've labored with intensity. You've poured effort into visions and ventures, carefully arranging your plans, your relationships, your identity, round what seemed wise in your own understanding. But I see what you've built, and I see the cracks beneath the surface, the hidden fractures where fear was disguised as strategy, where performance replaced purpose, where your own voice echoed louder than mine. And I tell you now, not to shame you but to save you, the storm is not your enemy, but the test that reveals what you've trusted in. When the wind comes, and it will, only what is rooted in me will remain. The rest will tremble, it will bend, it will fall. I am not the destroyer of dreams, I am the discerner of foundations. What I expose, I intend to redeem. But I cannot bless structures that stand apart from my blueprint. I am not interested in what impresses people, I'm invested in what sustains your soul. You've asked me for favor, but I desire to give you something far greater: stability, unshakable peace, a life anchored not in outcomes but in obedience. And that kind of life cannot be built on ambition that excludes my instruction. You cannot mix fragments of my word into blueprints of your own making and expect it to stand in the winds of testing. I am not a consultant to your plans, I am the cornerstone of your calling. Everything you build that does not rest on me will exhaust you. It may look strong now, but when the storm comes, it will demand a strength you don't have. And I will allow the shaking not out of cruelty, but mercy. Because I would rather see something fall now, while I can still rebuild it with you, than watch you continue to invest your soul in scaffolding that was never meant to carry eternal weight. The house built on sand doesn't fall because it wasn't beautiful, it falls because it wasn't anchored. And you, my beloved, were created for more than beautiful collapse. You were created for enduring impact, lasting influence, legacy that doesn't sway when seasons shift, but that requires more than inspiration, it requires my instruction. You keep asking for me to bless what you started, but I'm asking you to surrender it. Let me examine every brick, every beam, every hidden motive that form what you're standing on. Let me test it in the secret place before it gets tested in the public one. I am not tearing down your life, I'm tearing down the lie that said you had to build alone. You thought being strong meant doing it yourself, proving your worth, carrying the weight. But strength isn't in isolation, it's in foundation. And I am the foundation you need. Not just for your ministry, not just for your finances, not just for your reputation, but for your identity, for your security, for your every breath, If you let me be your base, you won't fear the wind, you'll withstand it. You won't panic when plans shift, you'll rest in the knowledge that what's mine can never be shaken. But I won't build on a divided heart. I won't lay truth upon pride. I won't rest my glory on a house that was made to impress but not endure. The wind is coming not to destroy you, but to reveal what needs reordering. And I love you too much to let you keep building what won't last. Come back to the blueprint. Let me strip away what doesn't align with my voice. I'm not asking for perfection, I'm asking for surrender. I'm asking for the humility to admit where you moved without me. The courage to pause what looks successful and ask, is this from you, Lord? If it is, I will fortify it. If it's not, I will gently tear it down and rebuild it with hands that know how to turn rubble into revelation. I am the foundation. Just part of it, all of it. And until you place everything on me, nothing will stand. And now that your foundation has been exposed, now that you've seen what cannot stand without me, I must ask you to consider what your prayers have really been about. You've cried out for safety, for covering, for divine intervention in moments when the battle felt too close and your heart trembled beneath the weight of uncertainty. And I heard you, I always do. But what you must understand is that my protection is not always delivered in the form you expect. You ask for me to shield you, to keep harm at bay, but my greatest protection often comes through my direction. I don't simply guard you from the enemy, I guide you away from his traps. I don't just block what's meant to harm you, I lead you into places where harm can't even find you. But my leading requires your listening. My instruction is not optional for the one who seeks to walk under the fullness of my covering. You want the promise, but will you receive the process? You want the result, but will you follow the requirement? I am not giving you more commands to control you, I am giving you wisdom to carry you. And I've been speaking, again and again, but you've waited for a voice louder than the noise you've chosen to entertain. You've prayed for me to do what obedience is meant to activate. And now I ask, will you follow what I say, even if it confronts what you've always known? Will you trust my instruction even if it doesn't match your comfort, even if it asks for a shift, a separation, a surrender you've resisted until now? Because real protection is not me constantly removing the enemy, it's me forming you into someone the enemy cannot touch because you walk in divine alignment. The safest place for your soul is inside my will, not just believing in me, but following me without compromise. And yes, sometimes my direction looks like denial. Sometimes my leading feels like loss. But I see what's ahead, and I know what you don't. I know which roads are laced with deception, which relationships carry hidden danger, which opportunities are baited with distraction. When I say no, it's not punishment, it's preservation. When I ask you to wait, it's not neglect, it's preparation. But your heart must be trained to trust me beyond your preference. I will not compete with your opinion. I will not battle for your belief. I am offering something higher, insight born of eternity. You prayed for me to keep you, but keeping you means confronting what you've refused to let go. I won't shield what you won't surrender. My protection covers what's yielded. You want safety, but are you willing to stay where I placed you? Or will you move at the first sign of discomfort and then question why you're exposed? My covering flows with my instruction. The two cannot be separated. If you step outside of what I've said, even if it looks right, it will not carry the grace meant to shield you. But if you stay inside my word, even in the fire, you will not be burned. Even in the storm, you will not sink. My direction is the ark, the shelter, the unseen fortress around those who obey even when understanding is absent. You don't need to know every detail, you only need to trust the next step. I am not hiding my will from you, I am revealing it step by step. But you must be willing to walk at my pace. You must be willing to lay aside your assumptions and let my spirit lead. I do not guard those who run from my voice, I guard those who stay close to it. So again, I ask not as a command, but as an invitation. You asked for protection. I've answered with instruction. Will you follow it? Not halfway, not temporarily, but fully. Because the path I laid before you is narrow, yes, but it is also covered. It is protected. It is watched over. And if you walk it with me, no weapon formed against you will prosper, not because the weapon isn't real, but because I am more real, and I go before you in every step you're bold enough to take. And while you've been asking me how to make it through, how to endure the pressure, how to hold on until the storm passes, I have been shaping you for something far more than just making it out alive. You see, survival is never the end goal of my training. I don't lead my children to the edge of breakthrough just to watch them limp away barely breathing. I prepare warriors. I raise up sons and daughters who know how to walk through fire and emerge unscorched, not by chance, but by my hand. I've never taught you merely how to survive. I've been forming you in secret to stand when everything else crumbles. The shaking around you has not been to destroy you, it's been to strip away what made you dependent on the temporary. Because where I'm taking you, survival won't be enough. You'll need to carry authority. You'll need to command peace. You'll need to know how to speak truth in a storm without second-guessing whether you belong in the room. And for that, I had to allow pressure. I had to allow silence. I've had to allow seasons that felt like abandonment but were actually my discipline in disguise. You called it delayed, but I called it construction. I've been building your roots deep while you thought nothing was happening on the surface. You cried because you couldn't see the progress, but I was growing you in ways the enemy couldn't track and man couldn't measure. And now I need you to see yourself as I see you, not barely surviving, but being fortified from within. Because what's coming won't bow to the faint-hearted. It won't yield to those who need applause to keep going. It will require stability that doesn't come from talent, reputation, or strategy, but from me. From knowing who you are, and even more, whose you are. I've trained you in the dark so you can stand in the light without wavering. This isn't about getting through a hard season, it's about rising in the midst of one, and not folding when the wind hits. I'm not interested in preserving your comfort, I'm interested in activating your calling. You weren't made to hide in the corner of warfare. You were made to stand at the front, clothed in power, carrying light into places others are too afraid to enter. You weren't just chosen to survive the shaking, you were chosen to speak into it, to carry me into places no one else can go because they don't have your story, your scars, your surrender. I've let you walk through battles you didn't understand because I was forming in you a resolve that can't be shaken by mere resistance. And now, I am calling you out of survival mode. You don't need to just hold on, I want you to rise. You don't need to just pray for it to end, I want you to declare what I've already finished. You don't need to wait until it feels better, you need to stand now. In the authority of my name, in the certainty of my word, in the power of my spirit. I've already placed within you everything you need for this hour. You're not underqualified, you're underactivated. And I am activating you now. I am calling you to stand not with trembling knees, but with planted feet. Not in fear of what's ahead, but with confidence that I've already gone before you. I've been waiting for you to stop asking to survive and start declaring your right to stand. I've already given you the armor. I've already trained your hands for battle. I've already spoken identity over your life. And now you must step into it. Survival was never your portion, victory is. And it begins when you choose to believe that you were not called to be a victim of your environment, but a vessel in it. One who carries my presence with authority, who speaks with clarity, who walks with purpose even when the ground quakes. This is the moment you shift. This is the moment you stop shrinking. This is the moment you realize you were not just saved to survive. You were shaped to stand. And now that you're beginning to rise from the place where survival no longer satisfies you, I must show you what's next with sobering clarity. Fire is coming. Not a fire meant to terrify you, but one meant to test you. And what it does, whether it purifies or destroys, will not be determined by its heat, but by your heart. The flame is impartial. It honors nothing except truth. What is pure will emerge brighter. What is false will be revealed and stripped away. And I'm not warning you out of fear, I'm preparing you with mercy. Because I want the fire to refine you, not consume you. I want it to burn away what has held you back, not take with it the pieces you refuse to surrender. This is not a moment to cling tighter to what you built in your own strength. It's a moment to offer it all, before the blaze reveals what you truly trust. Fire doesn't ask permission. It arrives. And when it does, it separates the weight of obedience from the fluff of appearance. You've spoken of faith. Now the fire will prove its roots. You declared surrender. Now the fire will test its depth. I am not sending the fire to destroy your life. I am allowing it to reveal the foundation underneath your confession. This is the mercy of testing. It shows you what would have collapsed later and gives you a chance to rebuild before the stakes get higher. And child, they will get higher. What's ahead is not for the half-built, half-committed, half-surrendered soul. It is for the refined, the forged, the ones who allowed me to dig deep before the heat arrived. And I want that to be you. I want you to walk through what others run from, not because you're stronger, but because you chose to let me purify what you could have protected. There are things in you that cannot stay. Mindsets that seem harmless, but are poison to your future. Habits that feel normal, but are anchors in disguise. Attachments that masquerade as love, but are chains pulling you off course. The fire will touch it all, not to embarrass you, but to extract you from what can no longer be part of where you're going. This is holy. This is necessary. This is me, Father and Refiner, stepping close enough to burn what cannot be carried into destiny. And what happens next, whether you emerge refined or reduced, will not be decided by the fire. It will be decided by what you refuse to lay down. I will force your hands open. I will snatch away what you're not ready to release. But I will make it clear, what you hold too tightly will either be purified in my presence or destroyed by your pride. You've cried for more. You've asked me to take you deeper. You said you're ready. And now the fire comes to prove it. But don't fear it. Because I am not outside the fire, I am in it. Just like I stood with the three in Babylon, I will stand with you. The flames will not touch what is rooted in me. The heat will not harm what had been hidden in my will. But the excess, the falsehood, the pride, the secret agreements with fear, those will not survive. And that is a good thing. Because when they fall away, what's left will be real. Joy. Radiant. True. You will walk out, not burned but bold. Not hidden but whole. You will walk out with a testimony that silences the voice of the accuser. But you must choose now before the temperature rises what you will offer to the flames. Don't wait until the fire exposes what you could have surrendered. Bring it to me now, willingly. Lay it down before it's taken. Let the fire refine. Let it do what it was meant to do. Because once it comes, pretending ends. And only truth remains. Let your truth be this. I chose the fire, and it made me free. And as the fire approaches with the purpose to refine, not ruin, let me make this unmistakably clear. What you feel stirring in your chest right now is not fear, it is my spirit awakening urgency in you. I do not operate in fear. I do not manipulate with panic. I reveal with truth, and when truth shines into the places that have been asleep, it often feels like fear to the parts of you that haven't yet been surrendered. But I am not here to frighten you, I am here to awaken you before delay becomes disobedience, before silence becomes danger, before comfort becomes a prison. What I am doing in this moment is cutting through every layer of noise, every filter you've placed over my voice, every reason you've clung to for why you're not ready. I'm revealing not to shame you but to protect you. I'm showing you what cannot be ignored any longer, because what's ahead will not tolerate blindness, and what's unfolding around you will not wait for you to feel ready. You've said you want me to speak, to guide, to lead, and this is that guidance. This is that word. It's not coming through thunder or flashing signs, but through divine confrontation with the truth you've been stepping around. I'm bringing light to every dark corner where compromise still breathes, not to overwhelm you, but to liberate you. You see, I am a God of peace, but peace does not come by preserving illusions, it comes by breaking agreements with lies. And right now, I am putting my finger on the very places in your life that still negotiate with denial. I'm not here to comfort what's killing you slowly. I'm here to expose what must be dealt with before it grows roots too deep to pull up without pain. You've asked why you feel the tension rising in your spirit, why your heart feels pressed from every side. It's because the time of passive tolerance is over. What you have permitted to remain in the background is now marching toward the center, and I love you too much to let you keep calling delay discernment. You do not need more time, you need more truth. And I am delivering that truth now, before the next step locks into place, before the next door either opens or seals shut. This is your moment of decision, not because I am angry, but because I am aligned with what must be fulfilled in your life. I'm revealing what you've ignored. That unchecked thought, that unhealthy tie, that spiritual laziness dressed up as waiting on God, that unwillingness to forgive, cloaked in the language of wisdom, that pride you've dressed in confidence, that fear you've baptized as caution. I'm not whispering anymore. I'm speaking plainly, because what I reveal, I intend to redeem. I'm not asking you to fix it yourself, I'm asking you to stop pretending it doesn't matter. You've tolerated what should have been evicted. You've justified what should have been crucified. And I'm not pointing these things out to crush you, I'm doing it because what I've planted in you cannot grow alongside weeds that consume the soil. I am bringing clarity. Conviction is my kindness. Exposure is my rescue. And this urgency you feel, it's not fear, it's freedom calling. It's my mercy refusing to let you waste another day bound by something I've already given you the power to leave behind. This is the hour of divine interruption. I am revealing not to embarrass you, but to invite you. Because you can't transform what you won't confront, and you can't confront what you keep excusing. So no, I'm not sending fear. I'm sending firelight that reveals what was always there but hidden beneath layers of spiritual numbness. And now that you see it, truly see it, the only question left is, will you respond, or will you retreat? Will you act like you didn't hear me, or will you let this moment shift you forever? I have no desire to torment you, I desire to free you. But I will not let you sleep through the moment I wrote into your story to bring about your release. Don't call this fear. Call it what it is, revelation. And revelation always demands response. And before the rhythm of the world lulls you back into delay, before your mind convinces you that tomorrow is still safe, let me say this clearly. It is this very night I'm speaking about. Not metaphorically. Not someday. Now. I'm not stretching time, I'm pressing in with urgency that eternity understands but flesh often ignores. What I have for you cannot be postponed without consequence. There is a window open, and it's not one of general inspiration, it is a divine moment of release, alignment, and irreversible shift. I did not draw you into this space to comfort you with poetic language. I brought you here because something that has weighed on your soul for too long is being pulled out of hiding. And it must be addressed now. Not when the timing feels better. Not when your emotions settle. Not when everything is convenient. This is the hour where things that were buried must be brought to the surface, not for shame but for closure. I'm calling time on what has long called itself your identity. That wound you've rehearsed like a script. That disappointment you've held as a shield. That secret you've carried like a silent bruise. You cannot walk into the dawn that's been promised until you give me full access tonight. There is a precision in what I am doing. This isn't random movement. This is rescue. And I have not come to negotiate with what's been breaking you in slow motion. I've come to end it. But you must choose. I won't tear it from your hands, I'll wait for you to open them. You think you have more time, but you don't understand how holy this moment truly is. The angels assigned to your breakthrough aren't waiting for another date, they are here now. The atmosphere around your name has shifted. The old agreement is expiring. And if you hold on to what I've come to sever, it will rot in your hands while your spirit starves. I say this with love deeper than your pain. Let it go before midnight meets your reluctance. Because tomorrow doesn't carry the weight of this hour. There is oil in the air right now, healing, restoration, fire for the next assignment. But oil spoils when it's not poured. You've prayed for this. You've asked me for clarity. And here I am, standing in the doorway of your resistance, asking one thing. Will you move when I say move? Or will you wait until regret makes your decisions for you? I will still be God tomorrow, yes. But what I'm offering tonight is tied to obedience without hesitation. Don't trade this divine interruption for the illusion of normalcy. You weren't created for cycles, you were created for calling. And calling doesn't always come with comfort. It comes with conviction. You can't keep stretching one foot toward promise and another into what I've already called finished. That version of you, the one that compromises to keep peace, the one that stays silent to stay accepted, the one that holds on to bitterness while asking for blessing, cannot cross into what I've unlocked tonight. That person must stay behind. And I know letting go feels like dying. But resurrection only comes after surrender. I am not asking you to destroy yourself, I'm asking you to release the parts that were never truly you. I know who you really are. I know what I planted. And I know that what you've been carrying does not reflect the original blueprint. Let me restore it. Let me bring your soul back into the rhythm of heaven's timeline. You've been out of sync for long enough. And now that alignment has come knocking, don't pretend you don't hear it. Don't silence it with excuses. Don't bury it under your someday. This is me, Jesus, reaching through time to catch you before what's divine becomes delayed again. Tonight means tonight. Not because I'm angry, but because I'm ready. And I need your yes to match my timing. Not your perfect understanding. Yes, your yes. The kind of yes that walks forward even while your knees shake. The kind of yes that trusts me more than it trusts the familiar. Say yes now, not later. Because this moment will not come back dressed the same way. And I am already here, waiting to begin what you've only dared to hope for in pieces. Let this be the night everything changes, not because you tried harder, but because you finally let go. And though so much has already been surrendered, though layers have been peeled back and truth has pierced the silence, there remains one last turning point, one decision that has not yet been made. It may not look large from where you sit. It may seem like a subtle hesitation, a quiet delay. But I see it for what it is, the final door that separates you from the full release of what I've prepared. And I'm not speaking this with pressure, I'm speaking it with deep, unwavering love. I am not rushing you because I'm impatient. I am calling you because I see what waits on the other side of your almost. I see the fullness that cannot pour into a vessel still half ripping what it has already outgrown. I see the fulfillment that is hovering, waiting for your complete yes. You've said yes to me in so many areas. You've walked away from things that once ruled you. You've wept and yielded and grown. But I know there is one more corner, one more untouched space, one more decision that you're still holding on to, perhaps out of fear, perhaps out of comfort, perhaps because it was the last piece of familiarity in a life I've already been transforming. And this one place is where the dam breaks or the delay deepens. I won't force it. I won't pry it from your grasp. But I will stand here and wait, because I know how much depends on it. This is not about religion. It's not about performance. It's about agreement. And until your will fully agrees with my voice, the shift will linger in potential instead of becoming your new reality. I am not bringing partial change. I never meant to touch part of your life and leave the rest untouched. What I'm doing in you is holistic, complete, thorough. But I need all of you, not because I'm demanding, but because the version of you I'm building requires undivided surrender. The decision you postponed, whether it's a relationship, a relocation, a release of control, a calling you feared, or a confession you've avoided, that is the key that unlocks what's next. You can feel it. Even now, it burns beneath the surface. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And still, you wonder, does it really matter this much? It does. Because until you step through this final threshold, you are standing in two places, caught between the person you were and the one I'm calling forth. You cannot carry both. And you don't need to. The next chapter is too weighty to accommodate divided loyalty. This decision, this one yes, will draw a line the enemy can no longer cross. It will close the access points that warfare has used to re-enter again and again. It will seal what I've been sanctifying. It will establish a boundary in the spirit that no lie will be able to pass through. I'm not asking you to understand how it will unfold. I'm asking you to trust me enough to make the move. The faith you've prayed to grow in will stretch only as far as your obedience reaches. This decision is the stretch. This moment is the test. Not of your worth, but of your willingness. And I'm still here. I haven't walked away. I haven't changed my mind about you. I'm not disappointed. I'm waiting. Not passively, but expectantly. Because I already know what's waiting for you. And if you saw it, if you even glimpsed the outpouring of favor, the clarity of vision, the divine alignment waiting on the other side of this one choice, you wouldn't hesitate another second. But you don't need to see it to believe me. You just need to know that I don't exaggerate. When I say this decision shifts everything, I mean everything. The peace you've longed for, the rest your soul craves, the doors that once refused to open, the relationships that align with your destiny, a confidence you've tried to conjure but couldn't find. All of it is tied to this last yes. And I'm not asking you to perform, I'm asking you to trust. Just trust that what I'm pulling you into is better than anything your partial surrender could ever produce. I don't want most of you, I want you. Entirely. And when you give me this last decision, you'll feel it instantly, the weight that lifts, the shift that begins, the flood of what's been waiting to move. I'm waiting on it. But I'm not waiting forever. Choose, child. Choose now. Let this be the moment everything changes for good. And now that I've exposed the weight of the decision still hanging in the balance, let me draw your heart into something deeper still, your position. Not your platform. Not your title. Not your current appearance. I'm speaking of your spiritual posture, your alignment, your readiness, your willingness to fully occupy the place I've designed for you. Because the oil I've in storing for your life, the anointing that breaks yokes, the clarity that sustains you, the favor that shifts atmospheres cannot and will not pour out over misalignment. I do not waste what is holy. I do not release destiny over disobedience. And what I've crafted specifically for you will only flow when you stand in the place I've called you to, without excuse, without partiality, without fear disguised as caution. You've been asking me to release what I've promised. You've pleaded for more clarity, more fire, more purpose, more direction. But child, you must hear me now. I can't pour into where you won't stand. I will not anoint the version of your life that pleases people but defies my instruction. I will not bless a posture that bows to comfort when I've called you to courage. The oil is ready. Heaven is holding its breath. But I cannot release it while you occupy a position born of hesitation. Your obedience is the funnel. Your surrender is the container. Your alignment is the ground on which the outpouring rests. I don't need you to be perfect, I need you to be positioned. Because the oil I'm about to release won't just touch your life. It will flow through it. It will touch others. It will heal wounds. It will destroy cycles. And that kind of outpouring only rests on lives that are fully yielded. You've wondered why things feel stagnant, why the passion you once had feels distant, why the doors remain unopened, why the promises seem delayed. It's not because I've forgotten you. It's because you've been slightly off position, still within reach, but not in full alignment. You've held on to pieces I asked you to lay down. You've flirted with old patterns I told you to sever. You've stayed in environments I've long stopped blessing. And now I tell you with love and urgency, shift. Move into the place of readiness. Position your heart, your habits, your hands, and your time where I've been calling you to stand. Because the oil is not delayed, it's waiting for you to align. Don't mistake my silence as denial. It's been a pause born out of mercy, not absence. I won't pour what will be wasted. I won't release what would be trampled in compromise. But if you move, if you reposition your life according to the blueprint I've been whispering to your spirit, then the release will be unstoppable. There will be no striving, no chasing, just overflow. but overflow is reserved for vessels that remain under the spout of obedience. You don't need to manipulate your way into purpose. You don't need to copy another's journey. You don't need to force open doors that were never yours. You only need to be found standing where I placed you. I'm not asking for performance, I'm asking for posture. A heart that says yes before understanding. Feet that stand still when the world rushes past. Hands that remain open even when you don't yet know what I'll place in them. That's the position that draws the oil. And when I pour it out, nothing will be able to stop what flows. The places that once resisted you will respond. The gifts that once felt dormant will activate. The voice you once doubted will carry weight. But only from the position I assigned. You don't need to be seen, you need to be still. You don't need to impress, you need to be immersed in my will. So, child, this is your moment. Examine your posture. Look honestly at where you're standing, not in the eyes of people, but in the eyes of the one who called you. You don't have to be everywhere. You only need to be exactly where I placed you. The oil is not held back from you. It's held up for you until you are rightly aligned. And when you are, it will pour. It will overflow. And nothing will stop what's been waiting to be released. And though I've brought you to the edge of new oil and realignment, though you've stood beneath my invitation and felt the wind of change stirring against your spirit, you must now confront this next layer, the loop of pain you've silently recited like a familiar song. It's not that you've refused to heal, it's that you've grown used to carrying your wounds as proof that you survived. But I didn't bring you this far to simply survive. I brought you here to heal so completely that what once paralyzed your voice becomes the very ground your testimony will stand on. And for that to happen, we must close the chapter you keep rereading in your mind, the betrayals, the abandonment, the words that pierced deeper than anyone knew. Yes, I saw it all. I was there in every scene you wish you could forget. I felt the ache when you smiled in rooms that never saw your tears. I stood by your side when their silence spoke louder than any wound, and you blamed yourself for why they couldn't love you right. But I am telling you now with holy urgency, stop rehearsing it. Stop returning to the grave of what I already buried. Stop replaying the moments that wounded you when I've already authored your release. This is not denial, this is deliverance. I'm not asking you to forget the pain. I'm inviting you to stop letting it dictate your dialogue. Because every time you speak through the lens of your injury, you plant seeds that grow into walls I never asked you to build. And yet, in my mercy, I haven't condemned you for that. I've sat with you through it. I've waited until your voice was ready to trade memory for meaning. And now, I'm handing you something new. Not silence, not shame, but language. Words that don't echo what hurt you but proclaim what healed you. Words that don't reinforce fear but release faith. Words that build bridges instead of fortresses. I am placing on your tongue the vocabulary of victory, not in theory, but in truth, born from the very pain you thought disqualified you. You don't need to relive the betrayal to prove you've been through something. You don't need to stay loyal to brokenness to remain authentic. I never told you that healing would make you fake, I told you it would make you free. And now, this is where we shift the story. Not by erasing your past, but by reclaiming your voice from it. The power is not in what hurt you, it's in what I'm doing with it. I'm not using the pain to build bitterness. I'm using it to construct language that sets captives free. Because your healing isn't just about you, it's about the ones whose chains are waiting for your sound. But your sound must change. You cannot declare freedom while still speaking like a prisoner. You cannot prophesy restoration while echoing the tone of regret. And that is why I'm pausing you in this moment, not to shame you, but to retune you. I'm refining your tongue in the fire of truth. The story hasn't changed, but the way you speak it must. Because now you are no longer the victim in the narrative. You are the vessel. The one I've chosen to walk out of the ashes with words that rebuild, not re-traumatize. This is not performative. It's prophetic. I'm exchanging your sorrow-soaked speech for declarations backed by heaven. But I need you to stop reciting the script pain handed you. I need you to stop quoting what broke you more than you declare who's healing you. I'm not erasing your voice, I'm resurrecting it. I'm not asking you to pretend it didn't hurt, I'm giving you a new tone to say, it did, but it no longer owns me. That's what healing sounds like. It's not loud. It's steady. It's not showy. It's strong. And that strength begins when you stop giving power to what I've already stripped. So let me fill your mouth with a new confession. Let me give you words soaked in light. The pain doesn't get the last word anymore. I do. And I say, you are healed. You are whole. You are worthy to speak, not through wounds, but through wisdom. Let your language match your deliverance. The shift starts now. And as your heart begins to loosen its grip on what once hurt you, as the language of healing begins to rise from the places that once bled, I now draw back the curtain on something the enemy worked hard to keep hidden from you. The battle you faced wasn't about your past, and it certainly wasn't about your failure, it was always about what was coming. You've looked at your life through the lens of what slipped through your fingers, what was taken, what never came to pass. You measured the storm by what it cost you. But I tell you now, the true target was never the visible loss. The war waged against your soul wasn't about your money, your job, your relationships, or even your reputation. It was about what I placed within you from the beginning, the unseen treasure, the sacred assignment, the kingdom seed carrying generational consequence. The warfare was so severe because your obedience carries weight in the spirit realm. The fight was always over your voice, your mantle, your alignment with heaven's movement on the earth. The enemy knew that if he could keep you mourning what left, he could delay you from stepping into what remains. But I never changed my mind about you. While the pressure increased and the battle intensified, I didn't back away, I leaned in. I allowed what I allowed, not to break you, but to bring you face to face with the power I planted in you that suffering could not uproot. And now, I'm revealing what the warfare was really after: your authority, your capacity to shift atmospheres, your voice that carries the sound of survival and surrender. You are not just a survivor of attack. You are a steward of revelation. You've walked through fire that was meant to disfigure you, but you emerged with oil that cannot be fabricated or imitated. That oil, the depth, the authenticity, the intimates, what the enemy tried to destroy. Not your possessions, but your anointing. Not your comfort, but your clarity. He targeted your consistency, your devotion, your worship in the dark, because that worship was building something eternal. That is why you felt like giving up when no one knew. That is why it seemed like everything came at you all at once. Because the closer you got to divine release, the more desperate hell became to block it. But what the enemy failed to understand is that your trials didn't make you weaker, they solidified your calling. You're not stepping out of the storm empty-handed. You're stepping out with weapons forged in resistance, discernment shaped in silence, and an authority that only comes through endurance. And now, I'm giving you divine insight. I'm showing you how every blow was connected to a future breakthrough. Every wave of confusion was meant to disorient you right before direction was released. Every false accusation was launched to make you forfeit what I was about to confirm. But you didn't quit. Even when your soul was tired, you stayed close. Even when prayers went unanswered, you still whispered my name. And that endurance was not overlooked, it was recorded. And now, I'm restoring everything with interest. But more than that, I'm giving you eyes to see it differently. You're not just reclaiming lost time, you're stepping into revealed purpose. What you thought with a season of stripping was actually a season of unveiling. You were not abandoned, you were entrusted. You were not overlooked, you were being hidden for a greater revealing. And now that I've brought you through, now that the enemy's strategies have failed, I'm not just giving you back what was lost, I'm releasing what was preserved. What I've stored for this hour will make sense of the fire, the depth you've gained, the wisdom you've earned, the peace that now sits where pain once ruled. It will speak louder than the losses ever did. And those who saw the warfare without understanding will soon witness the weight of what you carry. They'll see it in your steps. They'll hear it in your voice. They'll feel it in your presence. You are a carrier of something the enemy tried to bury before it bloomed. But heaven said no. And now I say yes to the release, to the restoration, to the revealing. This is why the warfare was relentless, because what I'm raising through you will echo beyond your lifetime. And it begins now. And now that the truth has shattered the illusion that the battle was about what you lost, I must tell you plainly what the enemy feared most about you: your difference. Not your perfection. Not your credentials. Not your ability to mimic what others do. But the distinct way I crafted you. The undeniable imprint of heaven that I placed within you. The rare sound of your obedience when others settle for acceptance. That is what hell tried to silence. And now, as I usher you into the season I've prepared, it cannot look like where you've been, because it was never designed to blend with the background. This next season requires your full distinction, the unveiling of the uniqueness you've tried to tone down so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. I never called you to be safe. I never anointed you to be accepted. I called you to carry weight that cuts through culture and ignites hearts. You weren't born to echo voices. I shaped you to release a sound that only exists through your breath, through your surrender, through your wounds that have now become wells. And child, I must say it clearly, hiding season is over. The days of shrinking to keep peace are finished. You spent too long doubting whether what you carry is too much, when all along, it was precisely the volume heaven needed released in this hour. You didn't survive just to blend in. You rose from fire to lead others out of their own. And yes, I know the cost of being different. I know what it feels like to be misunderstood, to walk into rooms where no one sees what I've placed on you. But I do. I've always seen it. I've always guarded it. That fire, that sensitivity, that discernment, that hunger for more, I put that in you. A world tried to tame it. Life tried to mute it. But I've preserved it. And now I say, let it rise. This season isn't for conformity, it's for clarity. And I'm giving you boldness to walk as the blueprint I created, not the duplicate others expected. I'm calling forth your authenticity, not for attention, but for assignment. Because there are people waiting on your voice, your exact voice. Not the filtered version. Not the adjusted version. The one that carries your scars, your history, your lessons, your oil. You've seen others get ahead by compromising. You've watched those who diluted truth be celebrated. But that's not your lane. That's not your covenant. I didn't preserve you for popularity, I preserved you for purity. And in this next movement, it's purity that will unlock the doors. It's purity that will carry the power. It's purity that will break chains. You were never meant to fit into broken systems or be molded by hollow approval. That ache you feel when you try to conform, that's the evidence of your calling, rejecting the counterfeit. Don't ignore it anymore. Don't apologize for it. You don't need to dim to make others comfortable. You need to burn fully, completely, unapologetically. The flame I placed inside of you isn't destructive, it's refining. It calls people higher. It challenges what's fake. It stirs what's dormant. And yes, it convicts. It's why it's powerful. That's why it's needed. And that's why you can't silence it anymore. Stop second-guessing who you are because of who walked away. Stop revisiting the moments you were overlooked and thinking it was because something was wrong with you. They didn't reject you, they rejected what they couldn't understand. But I always understood. I designed you that way. For the edge. For the remnant. For the ones who don't fit, because they were never supposed to. You are not a misfit, you are a marker. A signpost of heaven's movement. And where I'm taking you, your difference won't be a liability, it will be the very thing that opens the way. The doors being prepared aren't asking for more of the same. They are waiting for the rare. And that's you. So walk like you know you were chosen. Speak like you've been carved from fire. Move like heaven's breath is still fresh on your bones. Because I've waited long enough to reveal you. And now that you're stepping forward, don't you dare water it down. This season requires your full fire, not a whisper. Oh. And now that you've begun to step into your fire without apology, now that your difference is no longer hidden but honored, you must come to peace with this. It wasn't delay, it was divine protection. What seemed like endless waiting, like painful silence and unanswered prayers, was not the result of neglect or punishment. It was strategy, heavenly timing, mercy in motion. I did not keep it from you to withhold, I kept it back to preserve. Because what I've prepared for your life has weight, consequence, and influence, and if I had allowed it to come early, it would have crushed what wasn't yet rooted. I saw the places where you were still healing. I saw the unresolved wars in your identity. I saw how the applause you were praying for would have become a trap if I gave it too soon. And so I covered it. I shielded it. Not from you, but for you. Because premature access would have led to permanent damage. I do not open what you're not yet prepared to carry. And I never allow what's holy to be mishandled by your unhealed places. That's not delay, that's protection. That's what love looks like from the one who sees the full map, not just the road in front of your feet. And now, in this hour, I am unlocking what I once hid. I am loosening what I once restrained. I am releasing what I once held back, not because I changed my mind, but because you're finally in the posture to hold it. Your surrender has created capacity. Your stillness has built strength. Your hidden obedience has drawn heaven's nod. And now, what felt like no is being revealed as not yet. What looked like a closed door is now being shown as a guarded gate. And I've been standing on the other side the entire time, waiting for you to trust me more than you trust outcomes. I know how hard it was. I know how many times you questioned me, questioned yourself, questioned whether the promise was even real. But I never let go of the vision. I just needed to make sure it wouldn't become an idol in your hands. I needed you to want me more than you wanted the result. And now, because you didn't walk away, because you stayed when it didn't make sense, because you praised me through confusion, I can give you the pieces that were always yours. You'll begin to see it now. Doors opening that once rejected you. Conversations starting that once ignored you. Provision flowing where drought seemed permanent. But it's not just movement, it's meaning. Everything that comes now will carry purpose. No more empty striving. No more counterfeit alignments. No more forced fits into places that weren't designed for you. What's unlocking now is clean. It's covered. It's strategic. It's soaked in my fingerprints. And you'll feel the difference: deep peace, deep resonance, deep flow. The kind that only comes when something has been touched by time and grace. There will be no chaos around what I'm releasing. You won't have to fight to keep what I've opened. You won't have to beg to be included. I've already spoken your name into the atmosphere of favor. I've already whispered your assignment into the ears of the right people. And now the movement begins, not because you demanded it, but because you were developed for it. Others will look and say, it happened suddenly. But you and I know the truth. This is not sudden, it's sacred. It's the manifestation of years of molding, pruning, pressing, and trusting. This is not random, it's fulfillment. And I will not allow what I've protected to be wasted. You are being entrusted with something eternal. Handle it with the same humility that carried you through the hidden place. Never forget, what opens now didn't come through force. It came through fire. And fire leaves behind purity that can't be faked. So walk through what I unlock without fear. The delay was never denial. It was the shield of a father who knew what was too precious to be exposed too early. What's opening now carries legacy. And it's yours because you waited with me. And now that the doors I protected have begun to open before you, now that the unveiling has started, I must remind you of a truth that anchors the entire journey. Your power was never in the stage, the spotlight, the numbers, or the nameplates. Your authority has always come from your yes. The unseen yes. The trembling yes. The costly yes. The whispered yes in the middle of warfare when no one else applauded. I do not respond to performance, I respond to posture. It's your obedience that makes the heavens respond. It's your surrender that sends angels on assignment. It's your alignment with my voice in the quiet place that shifts the atmosphere in ways no microphone ever could. You've been measuring your impact by the metrics of man, But I have never been bound by those numbers. While the world counts followers, I count fruit. While they seek reach, I seek root. And you, my child, are deeply rooted. That's why you still stand. That's why the winds didn't uproot you. That's why the seasons of invisibility did not destroy your purpose. Because even when you couldn't see what I was doing above the surface, I was growing you underneath it into someone who cannot be moved when the shaking comes. So now that I bring increase, now that expansion begins to show itself, remember this: the power was never in the platform, it was always in your posture before me. I do not crown influence, I crown intimacy. And you, the one who sought me when no one else remained, who returned to me after failure, who chose to stay pliable in the pressure, you carry more weight in the spirit than many who are celebrated by the world. Because I didn't raise you to entertain, I raised you to carry glory. You don't need permission from systems I never placed you in. You don't need the approval of crowds that weren't assigned to your calling. Your oil wasn't produced in public, it was cried in private. And because of that, when you speak, demons tremble. When you move, atmospheres shift. When you worship, walls break. Because your obedience carries a sound that heaven recognizes. You may not have the title they expect, but you walk in the authority that I give. And authority is not loud, it's lethal. It doesn't beg for access, it breaks chains by simply entering the room. So no, you do not need a stage to be effective. You do not need a viral moment to validate your voice. You need only to remain faithful to the last instruction I gave you, because from that faithfulness flows the next move of power. My son changed history from a hill, not a throne. He carried the weight of the world with blood on his brow, not applause in his ears. And if the world overlooked him, do not be surprised when they overlook you. But know this: heaven has never missed a moment of your surrender. I recorded every time you said yes while crying. Every time you chose truth over comfort. Every time you gave when it cost you. And now, that record is becoming a release. Adverstayas for significance. You are significant not because you're seen, but because you're sent. I send those I trust. And I trust you not because you are flawless, but because you let me shape you when no one else was looking. So don't chase stages, build altars. Don't beg for favor, walk in the authority already placed on your shoulders. Stop asking if you're enough. You were chosen before your first breath. You are not the echo, I made you the original. And your obedience is louder in the spirit than 1,000 empty performances. Hell doesn't fear gifted people, it fears obedient ones. And that's who you are. That's what you've become. So keep moving forward. Whether in a room of thousands or in a room of none, you carry the same power. Because your obedience still moves me. And when you move with me, no one, not man, not system, not demon, can stop what I'm about to do through you. And as you move in quiet obedience, refusing to measure your worth by visibility, I now pull back the veil on what once seemed hidden. I've already gone before you. The places that felt uncharted, the doors you couldn't predict, the steps that seemed shrouded in fog, I've walked them ahead of you. I've cleared paths you didn't even know were tangled. I've spoken into rooms where your name had not yet reached. I've stood in the places you feared and declared, this belongs to the one I've sent. You see uncertainty, but I see completion. You feel tension, but I see alignment. While you wrestled with questions about how and when, I was arranging the who and where. Heaven has never been confused about your route. What looked like mystery to you was movement to me. I was orchestrating timing, pulling on hearts, shifting situations, moving pieces you didn't know needed repositioning, also that when you stepped forward, it would not be into chaos, but into divine completion. Stop thinking you're behind. Stop fearing that you missed your moment. I do not operate on the clocks of man. I do not rely on your perception to measure my timing. My plans don't panic when your patience runs low. You are not late, you're aligned. You are not forgotten, you've been reserved for the exact space, exact hour, exact task that required every story, every lesson, every tear. Because what's ahead of you will not demand perfection. It will demand presence, and I've made sure that where you're going, Your presence will carry more than enough because it's saturated in my presence. I didn't prepare the next season for a version of you that never doubted. I prepared it for the one who walked through disappointment and still believed. The one who faced silence and still listened. The one who gave me a trembling yes, even when the outcome was unclear. That's the version of you I've brought forward. And that's the one I've prepared the path for. Even now, things are unlocking without your effort. Favor is flowing not because of manipulation, but because of maturity. This is what it means to trust me beyond what you can see. You don't need to force what I've already finished. The meeting, the breakthrough, the alignment, it's not pending, it's placed. You're walking into a future that's been waiting on you to stop doubting your place in it. It's already done. The opposition you feared is already disarmed. The shortage you dreaded has already been supplied for. The need you didn't know how to meet is already answered. The connections you couldn't create on your own are already drawn in. Why? Because I never ask you to walk forward while scrambling behind you. I am not reactive, I am redemptive. I do not guess, I govern. And I say again, it's already done. Your only task now is to keep walking. Don't pause to explain yourself. Don't turn back to reevaluate what I've already confirmed. Don't stall in the doorway when I've cleared the entire room. The clarity you've prayed for will meet you at the next step, not at the start. That's how I teach trust. I won't always show you the whole picture because the power isn't in your sight, it's in your surrender. If I showed you every detail, you'd try to control it. But I need you to partner with it instead. Let your faith be the forward motion that pulls the curtain back, one step at a time. You don't have to know everything. You only have to believe that I do. And I do. I know what you'll face tomorrow. I know who will support you and who will resist you. I know the traps that have been set, and I've already routed you around them. I know the hidden blessings that will take your breath away. I know the exact moment where the tension you've been carrying will break into joy. I know where your tears will finally make sense. And I know the weight you'll carry when you realize that all along, I was already there. Not just behind you, not just beside you, but ahead, clearing the way, writing the script, sealing the outcome. So go forward now. Not with uncertainty, but with assurance. Not with hesitation, but with holy confidence. I've already gone ahead of you. The mystery you feared is the miracle I've finished. And when you get there, you'll realize it always belonged to you. And while you continue stepping into what I've already finished, there's something you need to understand about how I've built you, not in a rush, but with great care, layer upon layer, fire after fire, not for fast impact but for lasting weight. I know you've looked around and seen others accelerate. Doors open quickly, platforms rise overnight. You've wondered, why not me? You've asked if you missed something or if you've fallen behind. But hear me now, child. I wasn't interested in launching you quickly, I was anchoring you deeply. I've been building strength, not speed. And strength takes time. Speed impresses, but strength sustains. Speed gets noticed, but strength endures. Speed can draw a crowd, but strength can carry a calling. And what I've placed inside you cannot be held by a weak foundation. That's why I allowed the delays. That's why I permitted the long road. Not because you were forgotten, but because you were being formed with intention. I didn't need you to arrive fast, I needed you to arrive full. Full of truth, full of fire, full of endurance, full of wisdom forged in places others didn't have the patience to remain. You were never behind, you were being fortified. The things that seemed like detours were actually the design. The moments where you felt like you were watching others pass you by were actually moments I used to purify your motives, stretch your faith, and sharpen your discernment. Because where I'm sending you now, hype won't hold you. Cal roots won't sustain you. And a fragile heart can't survive the pressure that comes with the glory I'm about to pour out. You were built for more than moments, you were built for movement. And movement requires muscle, not momentum. You've developed muscles in the spirit that few carry because you chose to stay planted when it felt like nothing was happening. You chose discipline over distraction. You chose prayer over performance. You chose me over what made sense. And now, the strength I forged in you is almost ready. You can feel it, can't you? A tension in your chest. That holy pressure, it's the stretch you of capacity. It's the sign that your spiritual bones are growing into the frame of your assignment. What you used to run from, you now face. What used to exhaust you, now refines you. What used to silence you, now fuels your voice. This is the evidence that the slow building has worked. This is the proof that you didn't wait in vain. And let me tell you this, what I'm about to release through you will outlast trends, outshine noise, and outlive resistance. Because it's not built on what's popular, it's built on what's pure. You are carrying something that has been carefully measured, something with eternal consequences. That's why I refused to let you run ahead prematurely. That's why I allowed the crushing, the silence, the slow pace. I wasn't punishing you, I was preparing you. And now, because you stayed, because you didn't abandon the process, I can trust you with a portion that breaks chains, heals wounds, and opens doors that don't shut. You've seen others rise and fall. You've watched quick platforms crumble. But what I'm doing with you is unshakable. And when I say it's almost complete, I mean you're standing at the edge of fulfillment. Not because you hurried through, but because you were faithful through. And that faithfulness carries more weight than charisma ever could. I've hidden you, not to punish you, but to preserve you. I've tested you, not to expose weakness, but to reveal where I've made you strong. And now, you don't need applause to feel secure. You don't need validation to move. You've learned how to stand in the dark, and because of that, I'm bringing you into the light. So keep walking. Don't rush. Don't compare. Don't shrink. You've been built to carry glory not as a fragile vessel, but as a steady one. And that strength is almost complete. You'll soon feel it fully. And when the weight comes, you'll realize you weren't just chosen. You were made ready. And now that you understand the strength I've forged within you through every delay, every refining, and every stretch, let me reveal why I pulled you apart in ways you didn't understand, why I removed you from environments that once felt familiar, why I quieted the rooms that used to echo with connection, why I allowed the ache of loneliness to press so close it sometimes felt unbearable. I wasn't discarding you, I was distinguishing you. I wasn't punishing you, I was positioning you. Because there's a place in my plan that bears your name, and no one else has the blueprint for it. I had to separate you not because you were unworthy of community, but because the identity I was solidifying in you would not survive if constantly surrounded by noise, distraction, and comparison. There are assignments in the kingdom that require consecration before commission, and yours is one of them. You've asked, why am I always the one who feels different? You've wept, wondering why people around you seem to move forward together while you remain set apart. You've watched doors open for others, opportunities flow, connections form, and still, I kept you back. But I wasn't keeping you from something, I was preparing something through you that required room, quiet, and clarity. I couldn't allow the mixture. I couldn't risk you becoming diluted by environments that didn't carry the weight of your calling. You were made for something specific, sacred, and deeply tied to my heartbeat. That required you to walk with me in ways others didn't have to. And now, child, the place I prepared for you is being revealed. You'll soon step into spaces that feel like they were waiting for you the whole time. Conversations will open that sound like they were scripted by heaven. People will be drawn not to your talent, but to the residue of intimacy you carry with me. They won't be able to explain it in natural terms, but you will know. This is what the separation was for. This is what the pruning protected. I wasn't making you invisible, I was making you invaluable. Because what I built in you during the silence is what will now sustain you during the increase. I did not prepare you to blend. I prepared you to build. I did not raise you to be a copy. I raised you to be a carrier of something new. That's why you didn't fit. That's why you couldn't stay. That's why relationships unraveled and seasons ended before you were ready. because I was setting you apart for something that didn't yet exist in the realm of men but was already complete in the realm of spirit. And now, it's time. Not for everything all at once, but for the unveiling to begin. You'll see how the separation actually protected your discernment, how it preserved your purity, how it rescued you from entanglements that would have poisoned your purpose. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. What looked like abandonment was anointed alignment. I placed you in a cave so I could whisper what the crowds would have drowned out. And now, because you've learned to hear me in the stillness, you'll recognize me even in the chaos. That is your edge. That is your authority. That is the difference. You walked with me when no one watched, and that walk has marked you. So do not mourn the people who could not walk this stretch with you. Do not grieve the invitations you had to decline. Do not resent the quiet years, the obscure assignments, the nights you wondered if I still saw you. I did. Every moment, every tear, every yes. I was using it all. And now, what I've been crafting in the hidden place is ready to be released. Not to impress, but to impact. Not to perform, but to fulfill. You're not stepping into a borrowed space, you're stepping into what was built through your obedience. You'll see that the place fits because it was shaped by your journey. The room makes sense because it was designed by your surrender. You won't need a way to prove you belong. Your presence will speak for itself because it will carry the weight of the one who formed you in the separation. And I'll still be walking with you. I didn't separate you to leave you. I separated you to lead you. And now, I'm leading you into the space where your voice unlocks captives, your presence shifts rooms, and your very existence becomes evidence that I was always working even when you felt most alone. And now that you're beginning to walk in the very space your separation prepared, I need you to understand something critical. This moment is not about reclaiming what you lost, it's about confirming who you've always been. You called it a comeback. You framed it as a recovery. But heaven never saw you as someone who fell behind. You were never counted out. You were never overlooked by me. You were always in motion, just hidden in process. What's happening now is not restoration of reputation, it's the revelation of reality. The reality of the identity I sealed in you long before the breaking, before the disappointment, before the wilderness. You're not returning, you're emerging. You're not coming back, you're being confirmed. That's why it feels different this time. You don't have the same hunger to prove yourself, the same desperation to be seen. Because the striving hath been stripped. The proving has been purified. You no longer crave validation, you carry confirmation. This moment isn't about announcing your comeback to the world. It's about agreeing with what I've always spoken over you. There's no need to fight for a seat when you were fashioned for the whole table. What's coming into view now is simply the manifestation of what I've whispered into your soul in the quiet hours. You've wondered if this season would ever come, if the vision would remain stuck in the pages of your journal. But I tell you, this is not fiction. This is fulfillment. This is me placing a period where the enemy tried to scribble question marks. You have been through too much to settle for applause. You have grown too deep to waste your oil trying to impress. This is not about being seen by many, it's about being recognized by heaven. I'm confirming you now, not with claps, but with clarity. With authority that flows not from popularity, but from proximity to my heart. The warfare wasn't meant to define you, it was meant to refine you. The silence wasn't your dismissal, it was your consecration. And now, the weight you carry isn't heavy with pride, it's soaked in presence. My presence. So walk boldly, but not boastfully. Let this confidence rise, not from what is finally happening externally, but from what has been quietly established internally. You no longer need to explain your journey. Your fruit will speak louder than your history. Your obedience will preach louder than your pain. I've confirmed you, and that means the doors I open can't be debated. The favor I place can't be removed. The position I assign doesn't require permission. What I'm doing in you isn't built on perception, it's grounded in promise. And I'm keeping every word. You see, I didn't preserve you just so you could arrive, I preserved you so you could remain. I'm not after temporary impact. I'm building enduring influence. I didn't raise you for a moment, I raised you for a mantle. And the mantle requires maturity. That's why you've been pressed, not just blessed. That's why the process felt like fire, because it had to burn away everything in you that would crack under the weight of what I'm releasing now. You're not stepping into something new, you're stepping into what always was, but now with the strength to carry it well. So don't look back for validation. Don't wait for those who left to return and applaud. This isn't about convincing anyone of your worth. It's about honoring the one who never stopped calling you worthy. The people who misunderstood you were never your audience. The systems that rejected you were never your source. I've always been the one writing your story, and now the chapter turns not to redemption from failure, but to recognition of faithfulness. Not to vindication of your pain, but to validation of my purpose. You don't need to call this a comeback. You didn't lose who you were, you discovered it. And now, I am confirming every hidden word, every tear-covered prayer, every unseen act of obedience. This is your confirmation, child. Confirmation that you heard me right. Confirmation that I saw you when no one else did. Confirmation that I am who I say I am, and I will do what I said I'd do through you. Let them call it your rise, your re-entry, your return, but you, and I know the truth. You never left your calling. You just went deeper. And as confirmation begins to rest upon you like a mantle you didn't have to beg for, now comes the surge, the sudden pressure, the rising tension, the unexplainable opposition that seems to appear out of nowhere. But hear me clearly, child. This resistance is not evidence that something is wrong, it's proof that something is opening. The very gates that hell tried to bar are unlocking before you, and the enemy feels the tremble in the spirit long before your eyes see the shift. You must understand, warfare always intensifies when gates begin to move. The resistance you feel right now is not meant to stop you, it's meant to distract you. It's designed to create noise in the spirit so you question the motion I've already begun. But I reveal this to you now because I need your discernment higher than your emotions. I need your eyes locked on my direction, not your surroundings. Because the gate is opening. The appointed access is beginning. The sound of opposition is only confirmation that the threshold has been breached. The pressure is not punishment, it's prophetic. You are walking through something that generations before you only prayed for. And the weight of that movement has stirred opposition, not because you're off track, but because you found the right one. The enemy doesn't waste effort on those who are stuck. He targets the ones who are walking into impact. He launches confusion at the ones whose clarity is about to break a cycle. And you, my child, are on the edge of one of the most critical unveilings of your assignment. That's why the resistance feels relentless. That's why the thoughts have grown louder. That's why the warfare is coming from places you never expected. Because the gate is creaking open. And you are moments away from crossing into what I promised. But don't misread the resistance. Don't interpret it as rejection. It's not a closed door, it's a shaking door. One that hath been locked for too long, but now my voice has commanded it to lift. I am the one who opens doors no man can shut. And I am the one who gives access not through effort, but through obedience. This gate wasn't earned, it was appointed. This opening wasn't manufactured, it was marked by heaven long before the trial ever arrived. And now, all of hell is scrambling because you didn't quit in the dark. You didn't abandon your yes when it grew heavy. You didn't walk away when your name was forgotten by men. You stood. You believe. You worship. And because of that, I'm opening what could not open before. So expect the resistance, but don't engage it. Don't wrestle with shadows that only rise to distract you. Your job is not to fight everything that rises against you, it's to follow me through the gate I'm revealing before you. Let me deal with what tries to block you. Let me defend what you no longer need to justify. This is not a battle of words, it's a matter of position. You are in position. You are aligned. You are ready. The opposition is not your cue to retreat, it's the signal that you are precisely where you're meant to be. The tension you feel is a sign the atmosphere is thinning. The pressure is a sign the veil is lifting. And when it does, you'll see clearly what I've been orchestrating behind what once looked sealed. This next movement won't be subtle. The gates that are opening will bring not only release, but acceleration. What withheld of will come swiftly. What was locked behind delay will flood forward. But I need you steady, not reacting to every attack, not shaken by every lie. I need you grounded in what I've spoken. You don't need to understand every tactic of the enemy. You need to be immovable in the truth that the enemy is under my feet. And because you're in me, he's under yours too. That's why he's resisting, because you've remembered who you are. So walk forward. Let the winds blow. Let the accusations rise. Let the resistance rage. None of it changes what I'm doing. None of it rewrites what I've spoken. The gates are opening not someday, but now. And you're not just walking through them, you're about to run. And as the gates swing open and resistance rises to meet you, you've begun to feel something settle deep within, an unfamiliar weight, a pressure you can't quite explain, a heaviness that doesn't feel like burden but certainly doesn't feel like ease. And I need you to see it for what it is. It's glory. Not the kind that shines for show, but the kind that rests on those who have been crushed, purified, prepared. The kind that doesn't shout but shifts everything it touches. You are not just walking into promise, you are walking in with a presence that carries my signature. And that presence is weighty because it carries something eternal. You've been asking why things feel more intense, why even the good moments come with a strange kind of gravity. It's because you're not walking in your own strength anymore. You're walking under my mantle. You're moving with my weight. This weight does not come to overwhelm you, it comes to validate you. It proves you've been entrusted with something too sacred to remain light. Glory does not rest where there is no surrender. It does not visit where there is no altar. And you, beloved, have become an altar. Every yes, every tear, every hour of silence where you still worshiped those things became incense, and now glory rests where sacrifice once laid. But it feels heavier because I've given you more to carry. Not more responsibility for man, but more revelation from me. And revelation requires room. It requires integrity. It requires a soul that has been emptied of striving so it can be filled with my sound. You are not under attack, you are under assignment. This isn't pressure meant to break you, it's the evidence that what I poured into you in private is now beginning to manifest in public. The glory on your life isn't just about light, it's about impact. And impact always carries weight. You've asked for influence, but I'm giving you something far greater. Imprint. Not just to speak and be heard, but to carry my name in such a way that when you walk into a room, atmospheres bow. And that kind of authority comes with a cost. That kind of mantle demands discipline, purity, alignment. That's why the weight increased. That's why what used to be easy now takes more intention. You're not being punished, you're being entrusted. Don't confuse this season with burnout. Burnout comes from running outside of grace. This heaviness isn't burnout, it's glory. It's what Moses carried when his face changed. It's what the prophets bore when their voices shook kingdoms. It's what my son carried in Gethsemane when the weight of purpose pressed so deep it drew blood. You are stepping into a deeper realm of divine responsibility, not to be crushed by it, but to be consecrated in it. The heaviness is holy. The pressure is prophetic. And the trembling you feel at times is not weakness, it's reverence. You're aware that something bigger than you is now moving through you. And that awareness is not fear, it's honor. You've matured. That's why you feel it more. You've grown in discernment. That's why you notice the shifts others overlook. You've learned how to walk through silence without panic, how to stand through storms without explanation. And now, I'm releasing glory not because you asked for it, but because I see that you can carry it without making it about you. You'll steward it well because you didn't chase it. You didn't manipulate to get here. You didn't fake your way through the fire. You let me form you. And now, the forming becomes the fragrance. My presence is becoming visible on your life not as a badge but as a weight. So if it feels heavier, Don't run. Don't shrink. Don't ask for relief, ask for revelation. Ask me how to carry it. Ask me where to pour it. Ask me how to rest under it without growing weary. Because I will teach you. I will strengthen your frame. I will surround you with people who understand how to walk with those marked by glory. You're not alone. But you are different. And what you're carrying is proof not of what you've done but of what I've decided. You're not just walking forward anymore. You're moving with evidence. And yes, it feels heavier because it's holy. And as you begin to feel the holy weight of my presence settling on you more fully, as the atmosphere around your life thickens with purpose, there's one more assurance I must place deep within your spirit. I haven't missed a single thing. Not one sigh, not one unspoken hope, not one hidden scar has escaped my view. I know it's been hard to believe that I've seen it all when you've waited so long without clarity, when prayers seemed to vanish into the silence, when your heart kept giving and giving, wondering if anything would come back. But hear me now, I haven't overlooked even the smallest detail. I haven't skipped over the moments that mattered most to you, the ones you didn't dare tell anyone about, the ones you feared were too small or too broken for me to care about. I didn't forget them, I wrote them into the script of your destiny. The delays, I counted for them. The detours, they didn't change my mind. The losses that almost made you numb to hope, I wove those into a greater restoration than you dared to ask for. What you called interruptions, I was using as ingredients. What you thought were missteps, I turned into meaning. And what looked like shattered plans were actually seeds I buried, seeds that had to break before they could bloom. I am not the author of confusion. I am the finisher of faith. I write with precision, not chaos. I design with intentionality, not randomness. And every chapter of your life that felt like a question mark is about to be revealed as a key turning point in a story that always made sense to me. You've cried out, God, do you even see me? And I have answered that cry not with just words, but with motion. You are stepping into the very fulfillment of prayers you forgot you prayed. You will watch as doors open in ways that feel too specific to be coincidence because they are. You'll see how the names you whispered in prayer begin to return with answers you thought were buried in time. You'll experience alignment so exact, they'll feel like echoes from eternity, and that's because they are. I don't just respond to your faith. I respond to your fingerprints. I've been tracking the shape of your soul. I know what you need before it becomes language. I see what you're afraid to ask for. And still, I build around it. I incorporate it. I redeem it. I complete it. You've been waiting for a moment, but I've been preparing a movement. And movements require details. Not just broad declarations. Not just lofty plans. But precision. I'm a detailed God. I numbered the stars and know them by name. I clothed lilies in majesty and still remembered your tears. I designed your mind with a frequency no one else carries. I formed your heart with a rhythm that pulses in perfect time with heaven's assignment. You are not mass-produced. You are hand-scripted. Every encounter, every delay, every connection, every moment of crying, none of it was wasted. All of it have been archived into the timeline of your unveiling. That's why this next step will feel strangely familiar. Because in your spirit, you've already walked it. That's why the words you speak in this season will carry weight. Because they were refined through waiting. That's why the people you meet now will feel like destiny, not because they are perfect, but because they are part of what I promised. So don't fear missing out. You cannot miss what I wrote with your name on it. You cannot be denied what I sealed before the foundations of the world. No steam can override my scroll. No enemy can edit what I offered in covenant blood. And no delay can delete what I decreed. And when it manifests, when you step into rooms you didn't campaign for, when you receive answers you didn't chase, when you hold evidence of promises that once only lived in dreams, you will know, this was not random. It was win. Every detail mattered. Every broken moment was reclaimed. Every quiet decision to trust me instead of taking control was added to the blueprint. You didn't miss the moment, it's been following you. And now it's catching up. Not just in part, but in fullness. What's about to happen won't just feel like breakthrough, it will feel like remembrance. Because I am not introducing something new. I'm unveiling what's always been yours. I didn't forget the details. I've been holding them, just waiting for the right moment to reveal that I never let go of anything you placed in my hands. And now that you've begun to see how I never forgot the intricate pieces of your journey, how every hidden cry and surrendered dream was captured by me, I must tell you what is unfolding next. Nothing you laid down for my sake will return empty. Not a single sacrifice you made in faith will be left unrewarded. I saw it all, the relationships you walked away from because I whispered, they can't come with you. The opportunities you declined when I said, that door isn't mine. The comforts you released, the dreams you shelved, the quiet battles where you chose me over what would have been easier. You didn't lose those things, you sowed them. And now, I'm calling for the harvest. You weren't crazy for believing that obedience matters. You weren't foolish for trusting my timing when logic demanded you act faster. You weren't weak for letting go when others told you to hold on. What you did was make an eternal exchange. You gave up the temporary for the timeless. You chose alignment over applause. You chose depth over display. And I, the Lord who watches in secret, am now rewarding in the open. But this isn't just restoration, it's multiplication. I'm not giving you back exactly what you had. I'm giving you more than what you dared to hope for. The reason you couldn't see it until now is because multiplication requires maturity. I wasn't delaying out of punishment, I was ensuring that when I brought the increase, you'd have the foundation to hold it. What's coming doesn't need to be chased. It's drawn to the sound of obedience. And you've released that sound again and again. You've surrendered when no one knew what it cost. You've wept and still walked forward. You've served without being seen. You've honored me in rooms where dishonor could have made you better. And every one of those moments has planted something eternal. Now the ground is responding. What was buried is breaking through. The seeds of surrender are sprouting with acceleration. What you thought was gone has only been hidden beneath the surface, growing roots so deep that when it springs forth now, it will not be shallow. It will not be seasonal. It will not be fragile. This is not a rebound, it's a reward. This is not recovery, it's recompense. I am returning not just what was lost, but what was left. And I am multiplying it, pressed down, shaken together, running over. You thought the sacrifice emptied you, but it was making room. You thought walking away would leave you alone forever, but it was setting the stage for alignment. You thought declining the opportunity was the end, but it was the beginning of something beyond what you imagined. And I'm not just speaking this as comfort, I'm declaring it as covenant. Everything you released into my hands is returning, multiplied, purified, and perfectly timed. Don't look for it to return the same way it left. Some things won't come back as people, they'll return as peace. Some places won't be restored the way you remember them, but they'll be replaced with rooms you never dreamed you'd walk into. Some dreams will come back so transformed, you'll hardly recognize them because I've rewritten them in glory. What you gave up in one season will show up differently in this one. But when it does, you'll know. This is what the tears were watering. This is what the surrender was shaping. This is the reward that couldn't be rushed. And I'm not waiting for you to be perfect to release it. I'm honoring your obedience, not your performance. You didn't earn this through perfection, you unlocked it through faithfulness. I saw every time you laid your own will on the altar and said, yes, Lord, even if I never see the result. And now, the result is coming not just to bless you, but to testify through you. Others will look at your life and see that I don't forget those who follow me. They will see that obedience is never wasted. They will ask how it happened, and you will say, it was the Lord. I gave him everything, and he'd give me more than I gave up. So prepare yourself. What you thought you forfeited is being returned in fullness. What you mourned as gone is being reborn in beauty. And what you thought you'd never see again is returning, multiplied by mercy, covered in glory, wrapped in purpose. You didn't lose it, you planted it. And now, child, it's harvest time, and now, as the harvest begins to rise from the places you once buried with trembling hands, as multiplication moves from concept into reality, I am stirring something deeper still. It's not just about what's returning to your life, it's about what's about to be released from within you. The glory I've been building in silence, the authority I've been forming through pressure, the truth I've been planting in your soul, it's time for it to be spoken. Not just whispered in secret or carried in your heart, but declared through your mouth. Because now, child, your voice is not just echoing experiences, it's becoming an instrument of confirmation. What I've revealed to you in the quiet, I will now confirm through your sound. This is why your silence felt so heavy in past seasons. It wasn't because you lacked words, it was because I was refining the weight behind them. I didn't let you speak prematurely because I wasn't raising you to be loud, I was raising you to be lethal. I wasn't teaching you to fill space, I was teaching you to carry substance. And now that you've been crushed and purified, now that your motives have been sifted and your pride has been broken, I can trust what will come from your lips. You're not just speaking from survival anymore, you're speaking from surrender. And that kind of voice moves heaven. I've waited for this moment not because I needed more voices, but because I needed yours. The sound that only you release. The cadence shaped by your tears. The conviction shaped by your waiting. The resonance that can only come from a life lived in alignment. You don't realize how rare that is, how few are willing to remain hidden long enough to carry true sound. What you did, you endured the seasons of invisibility, the misunderstanding, the moments when your voice was dismissed by people because it wasn't polished enough for their ears. But I wasn't looking for polish, I was waiting for power. And power is born in purity. So now I'm calling it forth. Speak not to convince but to confirm. Declare, not to be accepted but because the time has come to release what's been sealed. I will back your words with signs. I will follow your declarations with demonstration. Because you're not repeating what you heard, you're releasing what you've lived. The world is full of noise, but what I've placed in you will cut through it. Don't measure your voice by volume. It's not how loud you speak, it's the weight your voice carries in the spirit. And yours is heavy now. Heavy. Glory-soaked. Fire refined. And when you speak, chains will begin to rattle, not because you're performing, but because you're aligned. Don't hold back anymore. Don't second-guess your sound. I've waited for your agreement. Not just internal agreement, but vocal release. It's not arrogance to say what I've told you. It's obedience. You're not promoting yourself, you're declaring what heaven has already established. And when you do, walls will fall. Keys will turn. Locked hearts will open. The words you release will not return void. They will land like seed in the spirits of those who have been praying for clarity, for hope, for breakthrough. I've hidden the answer to their prayers inside your voice. That's how intimately I write my plans. And now, your obedience is the key. You've walked with me long enough to know this isn't about spotlight. This isn't about platform. This is about purpose. And your voice, purified through pressure, is now carrying purpose at a frequency that cannot be ignored. That's why the resistance to your voice was so intense. That's why the enemy tried to convince you that no one would listen. That your voice didn't matter. That you had nothing to say. Because he knew that when you finally began to speak, the heavens would confirm it. The gates would shift. The dry bones would rattle. Because you're not speaking as a person trying to be heard, you're speaking as one sent. So speak, child. Say it boldly. Say it clearly. Say it even if your hands still shake. I'll steady your heart. I'll fill your mouth. I'll stretch your voice beyond borders and boundaries. The time for silence has passed. The weight of what's inside you has matured. And now the sound must be released. Not just once, but continually. Not just for others, but as a living river flowing through your own soul. I'll meet you in every word. I'll move through every sentence. You're not speaking alone, you're speaking with me. Because what's coming out of your mouth is not just expression, it's confirmation. And now that you've begun to speak with authority shaped in silence and formed through fire, I want you to know this isn't just about breaking your own silence. It's about unlocking something that outlives you. You've been quiet long enough. The world tried to convince you that your voice was too much, too raw, too unrefined for them to understand. They told you to wait until you were polished, until you had credentials, until you sounded like everyone else. But I wasn't waiting for Polly, I was waiting for truth. And now, not only will your voice carry my confirmation, it will release a language that births legacy. A language that cuts through generations of silence. A language that unearths buried dreams and awakens what trauma tried to bury. You're not just speaking for now, you're speaking for those who couldn't. For those who weren't allowed. For those who still don't know how. I am giving you vocabulary that has never been spoken before in your bloodline. I am placing within you words that break generational agreements with fear, with shame, with poverty, with silence, with confusion. You've wondered why your journey felt heavier than those around you. It's because you weren't just carrying your own breakthrough. You were carrying the sound of liberation for those coming after you. You held dreams you didn't have language for. You sensed things in your spirit that couldn't be explained, only felt. And now, I'm putting those invisible pieces into sentences, into phrases that penetrate strongholds, into declarations that set things in motion. I'm not just giving you a message, I'm giving you a mantle. One that doesn't die when the applause stops. One that lives long after the echo fades. There are things buried inside you that generations before you prayed for but never had the voice to release. They survived battles so you could speak freely. They endured oppression so you could prophesy boldly. They carried hope silently so you could carry legacy audibly. Do not think it's by chance that you've come into this moment now. This is not random timing. It's divine layering. You're standing at the intersection of what was withheld and what is now being released. And I'm giving you the words to unlock it, not just for you, but for entire atmospheres. You'll find that as you speak, people will begin to weep without knowing why. That's because your words will not land in their ears, they'll land in their lineage. Your obedience will send tremors down family trees. Cycles will break in the hearts of people who never told you their story because your voice will speak to places they've never been able to verbalize. You'll describe things they were afraid to name. You'll declare healing over wounds they've tried to normalize. And they will weep not from sadness but from recognition. Because what I put inside you was never for performance. It was for remembrance. It's to remind them of who they really are. It's to remind them of who I've always been. You are not a commentator, you are a voice. A vessel. A sound carved out by surrender. And this language I'm giving you will not come from studying others, it will come from being with me. It will rise like fire from your spirit in moments you don't expect. It will flow like oil when you speak into dry places. You'll stop mid-sentence and realize, this is not me speaking. This is heaven pouring. And you will feel the shift. You'll feel the ground respond. Because words formed in the throne room always return with results. So speak to the soil. Speak to the womb. Speak to the silence. Speak to what looks dead. Don't just talk about revival, release it. Don't just describe change, command it. You've been quiet long enough. Your silence was sacred, but it served its purpose. And now I'm filling your mouth not with borrowed lines, but with legacy. You're not repeating someone else's breakthrough. You're establishing a new blueprint. And those who hear it will begin to dream again. They will start to pray again. They will remember who they were before the world silenced them. This is what you were made for, not noise but resonance. Not chatter, but change. And now, because you yielded to the crushing, because you didn't abandon your post, because you let me refine your voice instead of rushing to use it, I am placing within you a language that will outlive you. A language that leaves a trail of light behind every word. A language that unlocks legacy. And now that I've placed legacy in your mouth and weight in your words, you must understand the nature of what I'm about to release through you. It will not draw attention through noise. It won't arrive in a blaze of public announcement. It won't look like a spectacle designed for performance. Because this next move, child, is not coming to excite, it's coming to establish. It's not built to be temporary, it's built to remain. I'm not interested in impressing the world. I'm interested in rooting something so deeply inside you that it uplives storms, surpasses trends, and stands tall long after attention has shifted. What I'm building in you isn't for applause, it's for permanence. You've experienced moments before that came with sudden energy, bursts of momentum that seemed powerful in the beginning but didn't last. You've watched seasons rise quickly and dissolve just as fast, because they were sustained by emotion, not endurance. But this move is different. It's quiet like sunrise. It's steady like rivers carting through stone. It's subtle to those who aren't watching closely, but unmistakable in its strength. And I want you to know, just because it doesn't come with celebration doesn't mean it lacks power. In fact, the ones I trust most, I move most silently through. Because when you no longer need recognition to keep going, I can trust you to carry what can't be seen but changes everything. This next shift in your life won't scream. It will settle. It will take root slowly and then subtly start to blossom in ways you didn't expect. You won't need to post it, prove it, or package it. Those who need to see it will see it, and more importantly, they'll feel it. They'll sense the weight of what you carry. They won't be drawn to you because of charisma, but because of the consistency that now clings to you like fragrance. The depth you've gained in private is becoming visible in the fruit you produce, not the noise you make. Do not worry if this next chapter seems quiet at first. That's the sign that I'm doing it differently. That's how legacy works. That's how foundations are laid. You are not stepping into a viral moment, you're stepping into a victorious mission. One that grows slowly, steadily, with roots that refuse to be shaken by the opinions of others. I'm grounding you before I grow you. I'm securing you before I send you. Because what I'm releasing through your hands must remain long after you're gone. And that kind of work cannot be rushed. So do not compare your pace to others. Do not grieve when theirs is louder, faster, more noticed. What I'm doing in you will speak when other voices go silent. It will endure when other movements collapse. Because it was birthed in fire and planted in reverence. You've been stripped of the need to be seen. You've been pruned of the desire to be admired. And that's exactly why I can now trust you with something sacred. Something that can't afford to be corrupted by applause. You'll start to notice that your steps feel heavier, but not with burden. With clarity. With knowing. You won't need to be convinced of where you're going, because you'll feel it in your bones. You'll recognize the stillness as strength. The quiet as confirmation. The absence of hype as my presence wrapping around you like a shield. This is how my moves begin, not with noise, but with nearness. I draw close to the ones who no longer chase a platform, but seek only me. And now that you've chosen the quiet path, I'm marking it with power that cannot be undone. So when others ask where your moment is, you won't have to explain. They'll see it in how you walk, in what you carry, in the fruit that speaks louder than your words. You won't need to announce it, your life will reveal it. You won't have to promote it, my glory will rest on it. And the ones who walk with you will be transformed, not because you performed, but because you remain. You endured. You surrendered. And now I'm building something through you that no storm can undo. This move won't shake the earth with volume. It will shape it with endurance. And when the winds come, and they will, it won't be the loud that remains. It will be the rooted. And you, child, are now rooted. So let me build. Let me move through the quiet. Because what I start in silence, I always finish in glory. And as the quiet work of my hands begins to form a foundation beneath your feet, I need you to see clearly the nature of what you are stepping into. This isn't just a fresh chance or another open door. It's not simply an opportunity to try again, it is the very fulfillment of what I whispered to your spirit long ago, before your heart was broken, before the waiting wore you down, before your hands felt too empty to hold anything holy again. What's ahead of you is not potential, it's promise. is not the beginning of an uncertain climb. It's the arrival into the manifestation of everything I've been preparing while you've stood in faith, even when all you had was trust and tears. You are not about to stumble into favor, you are walking into the full measure of what was already ordained. That ache you carried while others were being elevated, the deep longing that lingered even when you worshipped with joy, it was the echo of the promise trying to find its appointed hour. And child, the hour has come. What you once only dreamed of, what you once only scribbled into journals between sighs of uncertainty, what you laid on the altar when you feared it would never come true, I have been holding it in my hands, guarding it until your spirit had the depth to carry the full weight of fulfillment. Opportunity knocks once, but fulfillment waits for the prepared. And you are now prepared not just in skill but in heart. You're no longer asking for a stage. You're asking for stewardship. You're no longer begging me to use you. You're positioned, willing to be placed wherever I choose, even if it's not where the crowds gather. A shift, that willingness to be poured out without conditions, is what turned this from potential into manifestation. Because fulfillment doesn't just fill your hands, it stretches your spirit. It demands presence over performance, surrender over striving. And you, my beloved, have come to that place. This is why doors that once felt sealed will now open effortlessly, not because you finally figured out the key, but because you've become the key. You've become aligned. You've become ready. You've become the kind of vessel that can handle glory without leaking, that can be trusted with breakthrough without taking credit. I never forgot what I promised you. I never stopped building around what you prayed for. But I was more committed to making sure you could hold it without it holding you. I wasn't withholding, I was weaving. I was folding your waiting into the fabric of your fulfillment. And now that cloth is finished. Now it covers you. What comes next will not feel like luck. It will feel like recognition, not from man but from heaven. You'll look around and see how every piece has fit, not with precision you could have manufactured, but with the hand of a father who sees the end from the beginning. The people will be right. The place will feel familiar, though you've never been there before. The timing will be perfect, not because you manipulated it, but because you yielded to it. This is what I do when you let me write the script. I don't just create openings, I bring outcomes. And when fulfillment comes, there is no striving. There is no anxiety. There is no scrambling to keep what I gave. It rests upon you like stillness. It surrounds you with peace. And it multiplies not by hustle, but by honor. You will not have to fear losing it. You will not have to fight to keep it. What I fulfill, I fortify. What I release, I seal. You will move differently now, not rushed, but rooted. Not desperate, but deliberate. Because you will know, I'm not chasing anything. I've arrived in what he promised. So receive this, child, not as an invitation to performance, but as a release into purpose. Don't water it down. Don't play small. Don't question if it's real. It's real because I made it real. It's real because you stayed long enough for the foundation to harden. It's real because I watched you grow into the very person this season requires. No more wondering. No more waiting for confirmation. This is the hour of fulfillment. Not because you forced it, but because you finally let me finish what I started. And as you step into the very fulfillment that once felt impossibly far, you must pause, not to hesitate, but to recognize what I've done inside of you. You prayed for transformation, and now you are living inside the answer. Not just walking into blessings, but becoming the embodiment of the very person you cried out to be when no one else saw what was happening in your soul. I heard you. In the nights when your tears were your only offering, when you whispered, "Lord, change me." Not knowing how long it would take, I began the work then. And now, what was once a request is becoming your reality. This is the moment where you realize that what you asked me to make happen around you, I first had to accomplish within you. That's why it felt like nothing was shifting, because everything was shifting inside. I was uprooting the fear. You're wiring the thoughts. Breaking cycles you didn't even know were wrapped around your voice. I wasn't delaying you, I was defending your destiny from being lived out in immaturity. I was shaping your capacity to carry not just favor, but wisdom. Not just miracles, but consistency. You prayed, God, take me there. But I had to bring you here to this deeper version of yourself that's been stretched through pressure and purified through silence. The you that stands in this moment is not who you were when you first cried out. You're not reacting the same. You're not trying to prove your value. You're not chasing what you used to crave. That's because I've answered your prayer. I've made you into someone who no longer begs for doors, but waits with confidence because you know who holds the keys. You've become someone who no longer flinches at rejection because your identity is rooted in me, not their opinions. The strength you're carrying now didn't come from a classroom. It came from the valley, from the battle, from the hours when all you had was my voice whispering, keep going. And you did, even when you didn't feel strong, even when you questioned everything. You kept moving, and I kept building. And now, look closely, you are living in the manifestation of that cry, make me ready, Lord. You are no longer becoming, you are. This doesn't mean the process ends, but it means that what once felt like becoming is now transitioning into being. You're walking in new authority, speaking with new clarity, making decisions not from desperation, but discernment. It's not just growth. That's the answer. What used to shake you no longer breaks your focus. What used to pull you back no longer fits the frame of who you are now. That's how you know the prayer worked. Not because your surroundings changed instantly, but because your reflexes did. Because your eyes see clearer. Your spirit hears sharper. You no longer need external signs to confirm what I've already anchored in your heart. That's maturity. And maturity is what you asked for, even when you didn't have the words to say it that way. You thought you were praying for opportunities, but really, you were asking me to make you whole. You thought you were asking for relationships, but really, you were asking to love without losing yourself. You thought you were asking for elevation, but deep down, you were begging to become someone who wouldn't crumble when the weight came. And I answered every one of those hidden requests, not all at once, but piece by piece. And now, the result is visible. This is the fruit of private obedience. This is the evidence of transformation. You don't need to convince anyone. Just keep being. Just keep walking. Just keep showing up as the person you prayed to become. You don't need their applause when you have my approval. You don't need their recognition when you walk in revelation. And you no longer have to fight for what's already flowing toward you. You've aligned with the current of your calling. You've become the kind of person who lives in the answer, not chases it. So breathe. And thank me not just for what I am doing around you, but for what I've completed inside you. You are living proof that I finish what I start. You are not who you used to be. You are becoming the version of you that I always saw even before you believed it could happen. This is not a dream anymore. This is you becoming the prayer, becoming the promise, becoming the one you always hoped you'd be. And now that you've stepped into the truth of who you've become, not by force, but by fire, not by ambition, but by alignment, I am moving in the realm around you to reflect what I've already accomplished within you. You've changed, you child. Not a surface level shift, not a seasonal improvement. You've been redefined in the secret place. And now, it's time for your environment to evolve. I cannot let you live rooted in an atmosphere that no longer honors your identity. The surroundings that once made sense when you were surviving no longer fit where you're thriving. And because I love you too deeply to let you stagnate in soil that no longer feeds you, I'm shifting the very landscape of your life. Yes, it may feel sudden. Yes, it may feel disorienting at first. But this disruption is divine. It's not rejection, it's redirection. I am not punishing you, I am protecting your growth. You become someone who no longer belongs in places built to contain who you used to be. You're not operating in the same mindset. You're not driven by the same motives. And so, the people, patterns, and pathways that once felt like home are no longer compatible with who I've revealed you to be. It's not pride to step out of the old, it's obedience. It's not arrogance to discern when a table no longer feeds you, it's maturity. And now I'm calling you to follow my movement, not your memories. You'll begin to notice how certain conversations don't sit the same way, how certain environments feel spiritually claustrophobic, how what once brought you comfort now feels too small. Don't mourn that awareness, celebrate it. That's me alerting your spirit to the shift. That's me telling you that the ceiling above you is lowering because I'm calling you higher. I'm not just changing your address, I'm expanding your assignment. And to walk in this expansion, you must allow me to rearrange what surrounds you. Because glory doesn't rest in places where compromise still rules. And you no longer belong to compromise. You belong to consecration. I know it's tempting to hold on to familiarity. I know you've prayed, Lord, can I keep them and still move forward? But child, the anointing you now carry requires insulation from contamination. Not isolation from people, but protection from misalignment. You've been entrusted with more now. More discernment. More authority. More revelation. And that means the environments around you must carry the capacity to hold it. Some will not understand why you're moving differently. Some will say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have. But don't let that accusation become your guilt. Let it be your confirmation. You are no longer meant to just survive where you are, you're called to shape where you're sent. And I cannot send you into new places with old anchors still tied to your ankles. That's why I'm cutting certain ties. That's why I'm rearranging relationships. That's why I'm closing doors you stopped knocking on but hoped might open anyway. Because they weren't built for your future. They were part of your formation, but they cannot be part of your fulfillment. I honored them for a time. But now, I'm honoring who you've become. This shift won't require explanation, it will require trust. Not everyone can go with you. Not everything can be carried. You are being repositioned, not for prestige but for purpose. What's coming next will demand more room in your schedule, your spirit, and your surroundings. And I'm clearing space for it. The subtraction is not loss, it's alignment. The unfamiliarity is not danger, it's design. You prayed to become who I created you to be. And now I am making sure your environment mirrors what I've declared over your identity. So don't cling to the version of life that fit your former self. Let me tailor your world to the shape of your new name. You are not barely making it anymore. You are favored. You are walking in promise. You are the healed one, the trusted one, the chosen vessel. And your atmosphere will begin to reflect it. You will walk into rooms where the conversation matches your calling. You will wake up with peace instead of pressure. You will find your hands full of purpose and your circle full of those who see your value clearly. Not because you chase it, but because I called it. This is not just about relocation, it's about revelation. I am revealing to you the kind of surroundings your growth now demands. I am shifting them. I'm aligning them. And I am doing it now, not later. Because you are ready. And the world you live in must now rise to meet who you've become. And as I shift the very landscape around you to reflect the growth within you, I want you to pay attention to what begins to unlock next. Because the doors you're about to walk through are not ordinary. They weren't left ajar by accident. They weren't open because someone else vacated them. These doors were carved with your voice in mind, your tone, your story, your rhythm, your revelation. I did not build these openings for a generic fit. I constructed them around the sound I knew would rise from your soul once it had been refined by fire. This is not coincidence. This is convergence. Your voice, aligned with my timing, is now becoming the key that turns locks no one else could open. You've watched others step through doors you thought were meant for you. You stood in hallways, whispering prayers that felt unanswered. You knocked with hope that began to fade when nothing budged. But it wasn't that I ignored you, it was that those doors were not your design. They were not one for others, but they were one for your voice. Your voice was still being shaped, still being seasoned, still being stretched to carry what I was preparing on the other side of the door you couldn't see. I wasn't denying you access. I was ensuring that when the door opened, it would recognize your sound. Because there are realms that only respond to authenticity. And now, the atmosphere is shifting. The hinges are turning. The locks are clicking free not because you forced your way in, but because the sound of your surrender has reached its appointed moment. These doors do not open for noise. They open for weight. And your voice now carries the weight of wisdom, the weight of wilderness survival, the weight of worship offered in silence. You don't speak from theory, you speak from transformation. And that's what these next assignments require. They're not calling for experts. They are calling for vessels who have bled in the shadows and still chose obedience. The rooms you're about to enter have been waiting for the sound you carry. They don't need more polished speeches. They need substance. They need the raw edge of truth sharpened by seasons of breaking. They need the gentleness that comes from being healed. I need the firmness that comes from knowing what it's like to fall and still rise again. Your voice is no longer wrapped in insecurity, it's clothed in clarity. You're not trying to be heard. You're walking in knowing. And that knowing cannot be replicated. That's what makes this moment divine. It's not opportunity, it's orchestration. You will begin to feel it when you speak and the room grows quiet, not because you're loud, but because your spirit carries authority. You'll notice the way conversations shift when you offer just a few words, not because you dominate, but because my presence flows through your honesty. You won't have to adjust your message to be accepted. These doors are drawn to the sound of your real voice, not your performance, not your pretending, not your polished presentation. Just your voice, in its fullness, in its purity, in its unfiltered dependence on me. So speak boldly, not because you have something to prove, but because I have something to release through you. You're not a guest in these rooms. You are a fulfillment, a confirmation, a living answer to prayers others forgot they prayed. Some will wonder why now. Some will try to understand how you emerged from obscurity into influence. But they won't be able to trace it to any system, connection, or campaign. They'll see it for what it is: divine precision. The voice they tried to dismiss is the voice I've now appointed to carry deliverance. And remember this: these doors are not for a moment. They are for mission. They are not about visibility. They are about victory. Your voice carries not just a message, but movement. The echoes of what you say in these next rooms will ripple far beyond what your eyes can measure. So do not shrink. Do not soften. Do not wonder if you belong. You were not invited as an afterthought, you were chosen as the catalyst. I've waited for your voice to mature. I've waited for your courage to deepen. And now, the doors that once seemed sealed are opening, not just to let you in, but to let what I've placed in you pour out. And as the doors begin to yield to the exact resonance of your voice, as spaces once foreign now recognize the sound of your obedience, I want you to lean in deeper and see what's happening beneath it all. This alignment isn't random. This convergence isn't lucky. This flow you stepped into, where people, timing, and provision seem to appear without striving, it is not coincidence. It is confirmation. My hand hath been orchestrating these moments behind the curtain of time, and now the pieces are catching up to what I already finished in eternity. You're not just walking into opportunity, you're walking in alignment with design. The rhythm you're sensing in your soul, the way things are connecting without confusion, is the sound of my sovereignty bringing everything into divine order. This is what it looks like when your inner world and your outer world begin to speak the same language. When what I cultivated in secret becomes mirrored in your daily life. When the fruit of staying close to me in silence begins to manifest in moments so precise, they silence every fear that once told you it would never happen. You don't need to doubt it. You don't need to look over your shoulder wondering if it's too good to be true. This is what I meant when I said I would make your path straight, not predictable, not perfect, but prepared. Every divine meeting, every shift in direction, every closed door that routed you into right timing, it was all me. It was all grace in motion. And now you're walking in the evidence of that grace. You'll begin to notice things falling away without pain. Habits, mindsets, Even connections that no longer serve your assignment will simply dissolve, not through conflict, but through clarity. That's what alignment does. It doesn't beg for everything to stay. It honors what must leave. It makes room for what fits. And what fits now are things that carry the same sound you've been refined to release: purity, truth, purpose, and presence. If it doesn't match your new identity, it won't feel natural anymore. It's not something to fear, it's something to bless. Let it go. Because what remains and what enters from this point forward is coming not to test you, but to build with you. You'll see the difference. In the past, you strained to find the rhythm. You fought to make things work. You pushed to be included. But now, the striving has ended. The rhythm is already playing, and all you have to do is walk in step with it. This is what alignment feels like. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to chase what's already marked for you. You don't have to pretend you're ready. You are ready. And that readiness is being met by the very plans I hid in your future. You're not being blessed because of perfection. You're being elevated because of surrender. Because I can trust you now not to idolize the blessing, but to steward it. Even your words will feel different. Your responses will carry weight. Your decisions will hold impact. Because alignment brings authority and ease that isn't laziness, but flow. You'll no longer have to analyze every step. You'll feel the yes in your spirit before the door opens. You'll sense the no before others see the red flag. Because I've sharpened your discernment to recognize what I've built for you. You won't be fooled by counterfeit anymore, not because you're cynical, but because you've come too far to mistake almost for anointing. And I know, child, I know there were years when it felt like everything was working against you. But what was really happening was the dismantling of misalignment. I couldn't build new on a foundation that wasn't mine. So I let things fall apart that you tried so hard to keep together. I allowed the pause. I allowed the pruning. And now, I'm revealing the plan that was never destroyed, only delayed until the timing was safe enough to unfold. And you are here now. Aligned. Present. Love you. And because of that, what was once out of reach is now coming to you without force. So walk gently, but confidently. Things are falling into place because you have fallen into place. Your spirit is synced with my steps. Your desires have been refined by the fire. And now your life is beginning to move like a symphony of my goodness. This is not luck. This is legacy. It's not accidental. It's anointed. And it's happening now because I've aligned everything from within you to all around you with the plans I never once abandoned. And now that the rhythm of alignment is beginning to echo through every part of your life, as your spirit walks in step with my design, I want to dismantle the last residue of fear that lingers in the shadows of your mind, the fear that somehow you missed it, that the delay was your fault, that the detours disqualified you, that the years spent waiting in the dark somehow placed you too far behind to catch up. But hear me clearly, you didn't miss it. Not a moment, not a promise, not a single drop of what I ordained for you have been lost. Everything I have for you is still intact, still in motion, still coming. Because I don't build promises on your perfection, I build them on my purpose. You've measured time by human clocks, by earthly milestones, by cultural timelines that shout, you should have been there by now. But I don't write according to those calendars. I write in seasons, and I build in revelation. I waited not because you failed, but because what you were meant to carry was too heavy for who you were at the time. I needed your heart to soften, your sight to sharpen, your ears to recognize my whisper. I needed your spirit to mature into the weight of the promise. I needed your foundation to be strong enough to hold the fulfillment without it crushing you under the pressure. But you thought with embodiment with protection. I saw what you couldn't. I saw the version of you that would rise from the ashes. The one who would no longer strive to prove anything. The one who would not settle for imitation when they were created to be an original. The one who could walk into a room without needing to be validated because they finally know who sent them. You are that version now. You didn't miss the promise. The promise was just waiting for the fullness of you to show up. You see, Destiny does not get stolen by delay. It gets strengthened. You didn't lose ground, you gained depth. You didn't fall behind, you fell into alignment. Every year of questioning, of crying, of doubting, of asking me, when, Lord, those years weren't wasted. They were necessary. Because in those years, you learned to hear me without filters. You learned to walk by faith, not by outcome. You let go of timelines and grabbed hold of trust. And now, because you matured into who I always knew you would become, the things I've been holding back are finally being handed over, not to the version of you who first asked, but to the version who is now equipped to carry it. You've been watching others run ahead, wondering why your turn didn't come. What you didn't see, what I was protecting you from. Some doors open too soon and swallow people whole. Some platforms rise too fast and collapse under the weight of an unprocessed identity. But I love you too much to let you arrive before you're ready. And now, because you've let me do the deep work, because you've endured the long refining, I can release what's always been yours without fear it will be your undoing. So shift your perspective. The time wasn't lost, it was leverage. The years didn't break you, they built you. And now, the things you prayed for are beginning to look for you, not for the person who begged out of desperation, but for the one who worships from understanding. Maturity hath met momento. And now, the promise can recognize you. You'll feel the difference in how you receive. You won't grasp for it. You'll hold it open-handed. You will hoard it. You'll pour it. Because you know now nothing I give is just for your benefit. It's for my glory. And glory doesn't rest on the proud. It rests on the ready. And you, child, are ready. Not because you checked every box, but because you let me reshape your soul. You didn't miss it. It's still yours. It's arriving in fullness, not fragments. And it's meeting you now not as a frantic seeker, but as a faithful carrier. The door is opening, not because you forced it, but because you finally became the person I always knew would walk through it. And now that you finally understand you were never behind, now that you've let go of the false burden of missed moments and started to see how I held your promise until you could hold it well, let me tell you what's unfolding next. The season of small beginnings is over. The hidden years. The silent planting. The unnoticed obedience. The times you gave your best with no audience, no applause, no visible fruit. They were not forgotten. They were not in vain. They were the foundation for this very moment. I have been watching what you stayed faithful to when there was no reward. I've seen the consistency when it looked like nothing was moving. I've counted every time you chose to keep showing up when everything in you wanted to quit. And now I will show you what I can do with a life that refuses to back down. This next season will not resemble the one you just walked out of. You've been used to making bricks with no straw, building with broken tools, trying to stretch little into enough. But that was not your final condition, that was your training ground. That was where I tested your loyalty. Not to punish you, but to prove that when the crowd was gone and the feeling faded, your yes still remained. And it did. Through frustration, through loneliness, through exhaustion. You kept your hands to the plow. You dug in. You watered dry ground with tears. And you kept calling it holy, even when no one else called it anything at all. I want you to hear this with your spirit. You are not behind. You are not being overlooked. You are being launched. The roots have gone deep enough. The character had been carved solid enough. Now I'm multiplying what you remained faithful to and no one saw. What looked small to others is massive in the kingdom. The things you stewarded when they seemed insignificant are now the very things I'm going to breathe on. Your voice, your calling, your work, your obedience. It's all about dus ban naive brai naive blavum naive brubis. You will begin to see it rapidly. The very fields you sowed in silence will begin to bloom. You'll wake up and realize the ground shifted beneath you. The connections you tried for years to forge will begin to find you. What once took all your energy just to maintain will begin to multiply without effort. But not because it's suddenly easy, because you're no longer carrying it alone. I'm breathing on it now. I'm adding my increase. You brought faithfulness. I'm adding fire. You brought consistency. I'm adding reach. You brought endurance. I'm adding influence. But don't forget this. This isn't about reward. This is about assignment. I'm not blessing you just to bless you. I'm increasing you so others will know what I do with surrendered lives. The harvest isn't just proof of your labor, it's proof of my faithfulness. I've marked your name because you allowed me to mark your process. You didn't chase what others chase. You chased me. You didn't build for fame. You build for fruit. And that fruit is what I'm now putting on display. So don't be surprised when things move quickly. Don't be shocked when what used to take a year now happens in a moment. That's what favor looks like. It bends time. It overrides delay. It causes planted things to leap into life. But you'll be ready. Because this isn't new to you, it's just visible now. The weight of what you've carried is finally turning into the wings of what you're becoming. You passed the test of obscurity. And now I'm trusting you with visibility, not for ego, but for impact. Child, I'm turning the page. The hidden years are folding into the harvest years. And every yes you whispered in the dark is about to shout through the fruit I release in the light. This is not just a shift. It's a divine unveiling. And it starts now, not with hype, but with holy power. You were faithful in little. Now watch what I do with what you never stopped honoring. Amen.